Chapter 155. When Wang Sheng was assassinated on the streets, the worry-free city was the biggest slap in the face. This was because Wang Sheng was a citizen of the inner city. According to the general rules of the worry-free city, those who entered the inner city could not be pursued, even if he was in the outer city. But strictly speaking, being assassinated in the outer city was still acceptable. After all, the rules were not as detailed. But the worry-free city could be considered to have been slapped in the face. After knowing the identity of the death warriors, the worry-free city did not take any action. Now, not long after Wang Sheng announced the secret, the two representatives of the Dai clan were assassinated on the streets the moment they left the auction house. No one would believe that the worry-free city did not play any tricks. But Wang Sheng liked the way the worry-free city did things. Doing what others did was very much in line with Wang Sheng's personality. One must know that Wang Sheng was a warrior and an elite sniper. He was definitely the one who took the initiative to attack. All the pretense was for the final fatal blow. Being assassinated right after leaving the auction house meant that they did not have the time to send the news back to the Dai clan. This was going to be fun. The secret that the Dai clan bought with a huge sum of money was still a secret to them. This was simply too funny. The other clans would definitely go back to investigate. As for whether they would share this secret with the Dai clan, no one could say for sure. Perhaps some small clans would want to attach themselves to the Dai clan. Who knew? Who did it? Wang Sheng did not ask. Everyone had a tacit understanding. Everyone could guess who did it, but no one would say a word. Even the Dai clan themselves might know who did it, but they could only swallow this grievance in silence. Very good. Wang Sheng liked it. Just based on this, it was worth a few more drinks with the butler. Also, I helped you pay 20,000 gold coins at the Hall of Assassins. The butler clinked glasses with Wang Sheng before continuing. You killed Ling Ba and his gang in the outer city. Many people saw it. Rules are rules. You have to pay the fine. In the future, you won't have to worry about this matter anymore. No one will dare to look for trouble. Killing in the outer city was punishable, and to the worry-free city, it was equivalent to gold coins. One person would cost at least 1,000 gold coins, and depending on the target's cultivation level and importance, the highest could exceed 100,000. There were more than 20 people in Ling Ba's group, but they only paid 20,000 gold coins, which was the lowest penalty, and they even rounded it off. It couldn't be any cheaper. Wang Sheng appreciated the gesture and had another drink with the butler. Then he asked the two chefs of the Imperial Treasure House to serve the dishes. Why was the butler willing to come to Wang Sheng's place? Because he could eat different delicacies every day. Moreover, it was the kind of delicacy that he had never tasted before. He felt that he could even swallow his own tongue. If it weren't for everyone's limited appetite, the butler would have happily stayed at Wang Sheng's place to eat nonstop. From tomorrow onwards, the City Lore Manor will also send 2 chefs over, including today, before today, because Wang Sheng wanted to announce the secret of his soul essence enhancement. No matter if it was the City Lord's mansion or the other forces, they did not place any people around him. Now that the secret had been announced, the butler could not wait to start arranging people around Wang Sheng. There was no other reason. Wang Sheng's food was just too delicious. The City Lord had been looking forward to it for several days. He could not let him wait any longer. The butler even felt that even if Wang Sheng did not know the secret and could not enter the 1,000 Despair Grounds, with his good cooking skills, it was enough for him to have a stable foothold in the worry-free city. The butler did not realize before that his city lord turned out to be a foodie. What was even more helpless was that he now had the possibility of falling in this direction. The next day, Wang Sheng was directly speechless. The 2 chefs of the Imperial Treasure House were replaced, and then there were 6 new chefs in his own courtyard. Not only did the City Lord Manor send 2, the Imperial Treasure House also changed 2, even Bao Qing Yutang inserted 2. Wang Sheng did not care. Whoever sent the chefs were also to learn, and it saved Wang Sheng the trouble of doing it himself, so why not? Wang Sheng cooked delicious food, not for anything else, but to complete the Tao Tai transformation. Of course, satisfying a little bit of his appetite was also a side effect. These few days, he could visualize new food every day, and Wang Sheng's little chi kiss had increased by dozens. Coupled with the absorption of the external spiritual energy from the fifth stage realm assassin, the total number of little chi kiss had increased by more than 200. Wang Sheng's state was completely different from before he was injured. No one felt that there was anything abnormal about Wang Sheng's change, especially after he announced the secret of the soul essence enhancement. Since it was a soul essence that could be upgraded, then it was no problem to upgrade from unranked to the first stage realm. The origin mirror would only show the original state of the soul essence, so no matter how it's shown, it could only show the original unranked carp. Up here, no one wanted to see Wang Sheng's soul essence anymore. The higher-ups of the various families had received the messenger bird message from their respective representatives yesterday evening, and the reason was very clear. After receiving the news, the relevant families immediately went to the clan's records to search for clues, hoping to find some clues. This was related to the news of a soul essence that could be upgraded, which family would not be willing. As for those families who did not participate that year, at this moment, they were thinking of ways to contact the other families. Hundreds of years ago, the families did not realize this, and now that they knew, if they still could not participate, then it would be the dereliction of duty of the family's leader. Of course, the most important thing was to confirm the truth at the first instance. Wang Sheng had a personal demonstration, and the Song family had also nodded their heads to admit that there was such a matter. They even said such a shameful matter of their 9-star soul essence being snatched by the Dai family. So it should be true. Now everyone wanted to know if that 9-star soul essence could really be upgraded. But until now, the Dai family was still in the dark. They were still wondering why the disciples they had sent to Carefree City had not sent back any news. It wasn't until a few days later that the Dai family received the news from aside. Their family's disciple had actually been assassinated in the outer city of Carefree City, and it was after Wang Sheng had announced the secret. This news almost caused the Dai family's head to go crazy. The other families seemed to have agreed to work together to deal with the Dai family and seal them off. At least for an entire month, the Dai family was like a blind man. They did not know what had happened in Carefree City at all. It was impossible for the Dai clan to send anyone to Worry-Free City to question Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng was in the inner city, and there was no guarantee that he would give them face and repeat what he said. Moreover, the various large clans in Worry-Free City would definitely not be willing to see the Dai clan know the inside story. Left with no other choice, the Dai family could only compromise. As for what exactly they had agreed to, no one knew. However, they had definitely paid a hefty price to learn the secret that Wang Sheng had revealed. Chapter 156. According to the rumors, when the furious Dai family's patriarch found out that someone in the family had sent out a death warrior to assassinate Wang Sheng on the street before Wang Sheng announced the secret, not to mention being killed, the disciple sent by the family was also assassinated on the street after hearing the secret, dying on the spot. He almost cursed all the elders of the family who were present at that time. As for how the Dai family's internal struggle for power and benefits, no one knew, and everyone just treated it as a joke. Which family didn't have a few such *T incidents? All the big families wanted to know the secret of the upgraded source spirit, which definitely put a lot of pressure on the Dai family. At least for a period of time, the Dai family was suppressed by all parties, their power shrank a lot, and the disciples who went out to travel also restrained a lot. Wang Sheng didn't care about this. He was now wholeheartedly focused on cultivation. Even if the entire Dai family was destroyed, Wang Sheng would only be happy. He wouldn't have any other emotions. The more they were suppressed, the happier Wang Sheng would be. The 6 chefs each made 2 new dishes a day. It was enough for Wang Sheng to visualize at night. It was also thanks to Wang Sheng that he had eaten a lot of good food on Earth. And after being strengthened by the spiritual qi, his memory was very outstanding. He could remember many of the dishes he had eaten on Earth. Of course, he had to thank Wang Sheng more for the era on Earth before he crossed over. All kinds of delicious food emerged one after another. It was able to support the variety of food that Wang Sheng needed to visualize. Also, the various ingredients in this world had different variations on the basis of the ones on Earth. The same thing could be derived from different ingredients to several new dishes. In less than a month's time, Wang Sheng's upgraded little Chi Kiss had reached 500. At this time, Wang Sheng's cultivation could no longer stay at the unrated stage, at least his external performance. It was already infinitely close to the boundary between the unrated and the first-degree realm. As long as it was an experienced expert, they could see it with a glance. However, at this moment, no one doubted Wang Sheng at all. This was obviously not the credit of Wang Sheng's cultivation. It was clearly the credit of the old imperial doctor and the alchemist's pills, as well as the Song family's old ancestors' nurturing source spirit. What did it have to do with Wang Sheng? Even if Wang Sheng upgraded, so what? Wasn't just a first-degree realm kid? Compared to the secret of upgrading one's source spirit that the various families wanted to understand, it was nothing. That was to say, the City Lord's mansion, the Imperial Treasury, and the Baoqing Yutang. Recently, the City Lord Mansion, Imperial Treasure House, and Baoqing Hall were very happy. Recently, the City Lord's Mansion, the Imperial Treasury, and Baoqing Yutang were very happy. Because Wang Sheng's dishes changed too frequently, and a chef could not keep up with Wang Sheng's requirements. The three parties had already rotated the chefs sent out 4 times, and there were new dishes every day. Imperceptibly, these people who followed Wang Sheng's dishes every day were not used to the delicacies they thought were in the past. After living for so long, I know that this thing is so delicious. Linger was spoiled to the extreme in front of LV Wenho. She was not afraid to show this kind of indecent action in front of her young master. But according to Wang Sheng's instructions, the food was really delicious, so she often forgot that she was a little beauty and should act like a lady. The Imperial Treasury was like this, and the Baoqing Yutang was also the same. Every time the female owner touched her full belly, she smiled bitterly. Should she leave early? Otherwise, eating like this, sooner or later, she would become a fat woman. As for the City Lord's mansion, they had completely arranged 3 meals a day according to Wang Sheng's menu. The City Lord did not know how many times he had laughed at the big families in his heart. How stupid would they be to send a treasure like Wang Sheng to worry-free city? Originally, after the identity of the assassin was revealed, Ice Li and the Shadow Old Eunuch came to Wang Sheng's side to protect Wang Sheng. But these days, they had been enjoying themselves. After getting used to eating the food in Wang Sheng's home, they went back to eat the food that they thought was exquisite in the past. Just looking at it made them sick. Including the chefs sent by the 3 parties, they only knew how to cook, stew, roast, boil, and so on. They had never thought that in addition to these, there were also stir-frying, stewing, deep-frying, braising, smoking, pickling, steaming, rinsing, honey sauce, roasting sugar water, and so on. It was really an eye-opener. No matter which technique, they had to consider the difference in heat, ingredients, seasoning, time, and so on. If they were not professional, they would directly faint. This was also the reason why a batch of chefs could not continue after receiving guidance for a few days and had to be replaced. It was because their minds were completely messed up. Just digesting what they had learned was enough to keep them busy. There was no time to learn more. When a number of Wang Sheng's little cheese kiss had exceeded 512, Wang Sheng once again experienced an overall upgrade process. But this was not a big change like the first stage to the second stage. According to Wang Sheng's estimation, it should be the upgrade from the first stage to the peak of the first stage. It was still the process of spiritual energy entering the body. Wang Sheng lay on his recliner, feeling the comfort of the majestic spiritual energy entering his body from all directions. Beside Wang Sheng sat Ice Li and the Shadow Old Eunuch. The housekeeper was also not far away. Seeing this scene, the eyes of the 3 revealed a kind of curiosity. It was obvious that Wang Sheng had not entered the first-degree realm from the unranked realm. That was to say, Wang Sheng was able to experience a round of spiritual qi tempering in the unranked realm. It was rather magical. Needless to say, this was the credit of that magical spirit. Now everyone understood the changes in Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng's cultivation had dropped due to injury or other reasons. If he cultivated to the first stage again, he would definitely experience another spiritual energy tempering. This was a good thing. It was better than directly taking those tonics. They had a good relationship with Wang Sheng recently and hoped that Wang Sheng could do better. What made the housekeeper even more curious was that even a soul essence carp that was only in the unranked realm at the beginning had such performance. Then how magical would the 9-star soul essence soul that had swallowed so many carp soul essences be? When Wang Sheng finished his upgrade, he must ask Wang Sheng about his feelings and changes. This was very important. Of course, there was a question that everyone wanted to ask the most, but no one asked. That was, where did Wang Sheng come from? From Wang Sheng's performance, he was definitely not a barbarian who ate raw meat and drank blood. Compared to Wang Sheng, sometimes it made the housekeeper feel that he should be the barbarian who didn't know anything. Not to mention other things, just talking about food. If the barbarian's food was as exquisite as Wang Sheng's, then they, who claimed to be civilized people, should be so ashamed that they would knock their heads against the wall and die. Chapter 157. Since Wang Sheng had a small promotion, it showed that the previous medicine was effective, at least making up for some of Wang Sheng's vitality. Opening his eyes, Wang Sheng once again noticed something different. His eyes had been strengthened once again. He could see farther and more subtly, and his ability to identify colors was also stronger. This was the right thing to do, but when Wang Sheng was strengthening his body with spiritual energy, he clearly noticed that the spiritual energy had taken a turn in his mouth and nose. It had been concentrated on his tongue for at least an hour, and the same amount of time had been spent on his nose. Needless to say, it must be strengthening Wang Sheng's sense of taste. Tao Tai itself should be a big foodie, so strengthening his sense of taste was not surprising at all. However, it actually began to strengthen his body before the Tao Tai transformation had occurred, which made Wang Sheng a little surprised. Although it was an accident, it was still a good thing. This also meant that Wang Sheng's path forward was not wrong, and he still had to continue to persevere. Wang Sheng woke up from the strengthening process and then heard the congratulations of the housekeeper, Isley, and the old shadow eunuch. Wang Sheng had a promotion, and these 3 people were present as witnesses, so naturally, they congratulated him. He accepted the congratulations of the 3 people with a smile, and everyone drank a glass of wine for this. And then Wang Sheng found himself in a tragedy. The wine he drank a few hours ago was quite delicious, but at this moment, before he even tasted it, Wang Sheng felt that it was a bit lacking in taste. As soon as it entered his mouth, this feeling became stronger. The age was not enough, and the raw materials used to make the wine were not pure. There were impurities, which led to an indescribable strange taste in the wine. In the past, this taste was negligible, but now Wang Sheng actually tasted it in one mouthful. What was even more excessive was that this wine was actually mixed with water. Although it was not much, Wang Sheng couldn't believe the bland taste. It was clear that the wine jar was freshly opened. So how could it be mixed with water? Well, drinking was a hindrance, so it was not a big deal to drink less. But after a mouthful of food, Wang Sheng couldn't help but want to complain again. If it were on Earth, Wang Sheng would definitely slap the table and ask the chef to come out and explain why. The food was so bad, yet he dared to call himself a chef? Have you finished your apprenticeship? Fortunately, Wang Sheng still remembered that the teacher of these chefs was him, and even if he himself cooked, he wouldn't be able to cook much better than those chefs at this time. So he gave up. Strengthening his sense of taste was a good thing, but it made Wang Sheng lose his appetite all of a sudden. This was simply terrible. Fortunately, Wang Sheng had a strong will. When necessary, he would learn from Bear Grylls. He could even eat raw food. No matter how disgusting it was, he could still bite his teeth and swallow it. It was just that it wasn't perfect, and Wang Sheng could still eat it without changing his expression. If he had known that the Tao Tai transformation would have such a change, Wang Sheng would have pushed the Tao Tai transformation back. Of course, he had chosen the second transformation to be the Tao Tai transformation in order to deal with the 9-star origin soul of the Dai family. He was afraid that the other party would feel that there was one less origin soul that wanted to devour him, so he wanted to devour the other party. He didn't have to worry about this problem for the time being, at least not in the short term. The Dai family was now a big black pot thrown over their heads by Wang Sheng, who knew how badly they were suffering. Brother, I don't know if the City Lord's mansion has any information on high-level origin souls. Wang Sheng chatted with the three of them for a while and began to slowly get to the point. This little brother doesn't know how to upgrade this origin soul, so I want to refer to the information on high-level origin souls. Can you take a look? In the ears of Ice Li and the old shadow eunuch, this was the literal meaning. Wang Sheng's origin soul was too special, so he didn't have a direction. He wanted to refer to the cultivation direction of high-level origin souls in the past. But in the ears of the housekeeper, the meaning was different. Before Wang Sheng announced the information, he had secretly told him to collect the cultivation methods of high-level origin souls from hundreds of years ago. Now that Wang Sheng had raised this question, it was only natural that he needed those ancient training methods in order to find his own cultivation direction. Wang Sheng's reminder did indeed give the City Lord's mansion a bit of an advantage. However, looking at the information for Wang Sheng was such a big matter. It was impossible for the housekeeper to make the decision. He had to get the City Lord's approval. I'll go back and ask the City Lord. The housekeeper didn't agree on the spot, but expressed that he wanted to ask the City Lord. I believe it won't be a big problem. You'll have to wait for a few days. Wang Sheng nodded his head and didn't say anything else. He had already said this much, but he had already said it all. Although Ice Li and the old shadow eunuch had high cultivation bases, in terms of their understanding of origin souls, they were still far from a professional soul refining master. In this aspect, they simply couldn't say anything. After drinking enough, when everyone was about to separate, a group of people's voices came from outside the door. In front of everyone's stunned expressions, the veiled female owner of Bao Qing Yutang brought a group of people to deliver a batch of things to Wang Sheng. These are some high-level origin souls information. The female owner didn't hide it from the three people, especially the housekeeper. In front of them, she ordered a group of people to deliver the things to Wang Sheng's room. It should be of some help to your cultivation. The group of people sent the things in. The housekeeper could see that there were at least 100 scrolls. He immediately realized that he was a step slower in this matter, and Bao Qing Yutang had taken the initiative. Bao Qing Yutang's people didn't stay for long. They immediately left after leaving the things. Before she left, the female owner even gave Wang Sheng a cryptic smile. This time, Wang Sheng's refined salt business was definitely not going to be able to run away. The housekeeper didn't delay. Once Bao Qing Yutang's people left, he also hurriedly said goodbye and went straight to the City Lord's mansion. When he returned to the City Lord's mansion, he didn't say anything else. Regardless of the time, he hurriedly reported to the City Lord. Tis. The City Lord looked at a map with his back facing, and after listening to the housekeeper's reply, he couldn't help but smack his lips. What a loss. I miscalculated. I let that little girl take the initiative. This time, it's a big loss. The City Lord wanted to find the secret of upgrading the origin soul from the large pile of information. And during this period of time, the soul refiners in the City Lord's mansion had been researching it. Of course, they had also neglected Wang Sheng's intentions. After all, Wang Sheng's value was that he knew the secret of upgrading the origin soul. Now that he had already said what he knew, other than the method to enter and exit the Thousand Despair Grounds, there was basically no other attraction to the City Lord. Originally, he wanted to pull Wang Sheng a little, give him the cold shoulder for a period of time, and then curry favor with him. In Worry-Free City, only the City Lord had this kind of method. Never would he have thought that after Wang Sheng revealed the secret, he would still be so popular. Bao Qing Yutang actually rushed to the front of the City Lord's mansion without a sound. If Wang Sheng hadn't opened his mouth, everything would have been fine. But when Wang Sheng opened his mouth, the housekeeper didn't immediately agree. This was the first step of miscalculation. If the housekeeper had agreed without hesitation, he could have rushed to the front, but now it was too late. Chapter 158. Even though the butler had said that it was only right for him to consult the City Lord, he was still a little displeased. If the butler had immediately returned and Bao Qing Yutang's men didn't appear, everything would have been fine. However, there were no ifs in this world. Bao Qing Yutang had been silently searching for an unknown period of time. According to the investigation of the city lord, the female owner had left the worry-free city during this period of time. He thought that he no longer had to worry about Bao Qing Yutang, but in the end, he still lost the initiative. The butler understood the city lord's miscalculation, but he still couldn't understand. How could he have suffered a loss? Wasn't it just a day late? No matter what, Wang Sheng should at least remember the city lord's kindness. Putting everything else aside, just the fact that the worry-free city had helped Wang Sheng vent his anger by killing the 2 representatives of the Dai clan was enough for Wang Sheng to feel grateful. Thinking of this, the butler revealed a doubtful expression, as though he couldn't understand the situation. He told us beforehand to gather the information. The city lord didn't even turn his head, but he seemed to have seen through the butler's expression. This is a huge favor. We should have sent a portion of it over immediately after he announced the secret. Trying to be clever turned into a fool. Trying to be clever turned into a fool. The butler instantly understood. Even if they sent the items over now, they would only be able to get 30% of the favor, or perhaps even less. They had dragged on for an entire month, and Wang Sheng was the one who took the initiative to ask for the city lord's help. If it was the butler, he wouldn't be happy either. Putting aside everything else, no one would be happy to receive such a result after serving the city lord with delicious food and drinks every day. This subordinate will make the arrangements now. The butler understood and immediately thought of a way to salvage the situation. Gather the items and send them over overnight. The city lord acknowledged the butler's decision. His gaze was still fixed on the large map on the wall, and he didn't speak again. The butler glanced at the incomplete map of the lands of 1,000 extremities on the wall. He didn't stay any longer and quickly left to find someone to prepare the items and send them over to Wang Sheng. In just half a day, Wang Sheng had been busy twice. Before Bao Qing Yutang could sort out his stuff, the city lord's mansion had already sent over half a room worth of scrolls. With so much information, it would take at least 2 to 3 months just to read it. Looking at the pile of scrolls, a bitter smile appeared on Wang Sheng's face. However, this was also good. With this as a cover, he could justifiably stay in the house to cultivate and search for clues about the girl in his dreams. He just didn't know if there were any records of phoenixes in it. Bao Qing Yutang's mistress came again the next day. This time, she wanted Wang Sheng's method of making refined salt. This was the condition she had previously agreed with Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng would not go back on his word. It just so happened that after his sense of taste improved, he could no longer swallow the dishes that were absolutely delicious. One of the reasons was the poor quality of the salt. Bao Qing Yutang's method of making refined salt was also not bad. For the next few days, Wang Sheng spent his time reading through the information. He didn't even care about his business. In fact, ever since Wang Sheng moved into the inner city, he didn't care about his butcher shop. Although the butler had prepared a street shop for him, it hadn't even been open for a day. Of course, Wang Sheng didn't care about the income of the shop. His income in this period of time was enough to match the income of the butcher shop for several years or even decades. Wang Sheng wanted to master the body structure of the monster beasts. Right now, he had more important things to do, which was to find the girl in his dreams and the whereabouts of the phoenix spirit. Although the information collected by Bao Qing Yutang was not as much as that of the city lord's mansion, it basically had all kinds of high-level spirit materials. Wang Sheng also asked for the names of the actual owners of each spirit. Wang Sheng looked through them one by one very quickly. His main goal was to find the phoenix spirit. He had a strong sense of purpose. Those that weren't it could be ignored for now. He would continue looking later. One by one, the scrolls were turned over. There was no phoenix word on them. Wang Sheng was not discouraged. If it was so easy to find, wouldn't the whole world know about it? After looking through more than 100 scrolls, Bao Qing Yutang only had a dozen scrolls left. Wang Sheng's eyes were suddenly attracted by a name on a scroll. The scroll was called Strange Stories and Anecdotes. It had nothing to do with high-level spirit materials. However, it was collected by Bao Qing Yutang's people. It was obvious that the content inside was related to high-level spirit materials. Wang Sheng believed that with the professionalism of Bao Qing Yutang's people, they would not make such a low-level mistake. Opening this strange stories and anecdotes scroll, with just a glance, Wang Sheng knew that the answer he was looking for was in this scroll. Among the strange stories and anecdotes, it mainly described some unconfirmed stories. Some people had heard, but no one had seen or verified some strange spirit materials. There was a powerful 9-star spirit that surpassed the 9 transformations. There's a super spirit that had more than 10 apertures when it was upgraded and so on. What made Wang Sheng interested was that Wang Sheng saw a description of a spirit that was related to him. An upgraded spirit relied on swallowing its own kind to be upgraded. Although there was no specific carp or what kind, the content of the description was completely in line with the 9-star spirit that the Dai family had obtained. However, the author of the strange stories and anecdotes may have never seen a real spirit. Therefore, he only described the general characteristics and did not say too much about the specific things. For Wang Sheng, these things were better than nothing. They did not have much meaning. Looking at the back, Wang Sheng's action of slowly opening the scroll suddenly stopped. On the scroll that he had just opened, there appeared 2 words, Phoenix. After pausing for a moment, Wang Sheng eagerly unrolled more of it, revealing even more of its contents. Phoenix Source Spirit, a legendary source spirit. Type unknown, rank unknown, owner unknown. A series of unknown made Wang Sheng's heart cold for a while. Looking at the back, he finally saw a content that was not unknown. It was said that a few hundred years ago, there was a person who had a phoenix spirit, and since then, there had been no one. But the author of the strange stories and anecdotes was not sure, so he only recorded it as a legend. Continuing to read, it had become a new kind of legendary spirit. About the phoenix, there were only a few short lines of words. Wang Sheng had completely fallen into a state of madness. What was going on? How could it be a few hundred years ago? Wang Sheng clearly remembered that he had communicated with the girl in his dream a year before he crossed over, and very casually encouraged her that a sparrow could definitely become a phoenix. But how could it be a few hundred years ago? This must be a mistake. Chapter 159. After calming down from the shock, Wang Sheng continued reading. In the next few scrolls, he did not find the information he was looking for. He had already finished reading the scroll that Baoqing Yutang had brought. In the end, there were only a few sentences of description, and they were not very detailed. However, having a record was better than not having a record, wasn't it? Next, Wang Sheng began to read through the information that the mayor's mansion had sent. Unlike Baoqing Yutang, the mayor's mansion's information was mostly about how to cultivate a source spirit, and not about the characteristics of a source spirit or who possessed it. Looking through the scrolls one by one, Wang Sheng did not find the information he was looking for. Although the information recorded on each scroll was a secret to many people, something that they all yearned for even in their dreams, Wang Sheng currently only wanted to find information about the phoenix. Finally, after spending a whole day looking through the scrolls, Wang Sheng once again found the words Phoenix in the scrolls that the mayor's mansion had collected. Phoenix Source Spirit, Grade Unknown, Type Unknown, Cultivation Method Unknown. Legend has it that it is an unimaginably powerful source spirit. In the scroll that covered half the room, there was only this line of information and nothing else about the phoenix. Everything was unknown, but Wang Sheng was already completely relieved. Unknown meant that he did not know the grade, type, or cultivation method, but it did not mean that he did not know whether it existed or not. The phoenix source spirit had once existed. The fact that both scrolls had records about it was already very clear, especially since Song Yin seemed to know something. This clearly showed that the girl in his dreams that Wang Sheng was looking for was not a castle in the sky, not an illusory existence, and definitely not a dream. She had truly existed. Although he did not get the results he wanted, Wang Sheng was already very happy. If Baoqing Yutang and the mayor's mansion could find these records in a month's time, then it was not impossible for them to find more information. In any case, Wang Sheng finally knew some information about the source spirit of the girl in his dreams, which meant that he had taken another step forward in his search for the girl. Perhaps he should ask Song Yan about the detailed records of the Phoenix origin spirit next time. Relying on the delicacies, Wang Sheng broke through to the peak of the first-degree realm. However, Wang Sheng soon realized that the recipes in his head were not enough. Strictly speaking, it was due to the limitations of certain seasonings that prevented Wang Sheng from making more delicious dishes. Without a new dish, Little Chi wouldn't be able to level up, which would delay the speed of devouring the giant rock. In addition, some Little Cheese Kiss would level up, and some Little Cheese Kiss wouldn't level up. Wang Sheng couldn't be sure that there would be no problems when they were fused together. Therefore, Wang Sheng must let all the Little Cheese Kisses level up before he could really swallow that huge rock. Therefore, it was necessary to look for that special seasoning. Actually, the only seasoning that was lacking was chili. Ever since Wang Sheng came to this world, he had never eaten an authentic dish made with chili. There was a spicy taste, but it was from the ginger and mustard, which couldn't be compared to the chili. Coincidentally, Wang Sheng had seen a small pepper growing in the wild in the land of 1,000 extremities. Wang Sheng didn't dare to taste it at that time, but it looked absolutely pure chili. He thought that it could be found outside, but after coming to Carefree City, Wang Sheng found that it couldn't be bought in Baoqing Yutang or the Imperial Treasury, nor could it be bought in the pharmacy. Wang Sheng didn't give up and deliberately described the appearance and taste of the chili, hoping that someone had seen it. Unfortunately, whether it was the Imperial Treasury or the people from Baoqing Yutang, they all shook their heads. The shopkeeper of the pharmacy also looked confused, as if he didn't know anything about it. Fortunately, there were many dishes that didn't require chili that could be used by Wang Sheng. But now, some of the dishes in Wang Sheng's mind were almost hollowed out. If there was no chili, he could only create his own. Thinking about the chili in the ground of Thousand Despair, and then thinking about the little Chi when who was still waiting to be fed in the spirit space, Wang Sheng pondered for a day and finally decided to enter the ground of Thousand Despair again. No one forced him. No one chased him. Wang Sheng just entered the ground of Thousand Despair from the point of view of a foodie in order to upgrade his little Chi one. If this was spread out, it was unknown how many people's jaws would hit the ground after hearing it. For cultivation, which expert would believe it? In this world, there really wasn't a kind of spirit space that was related to eating. For eating? That was even more impossible. If he couldn't eat, would he want to die? Did he want to risk his life in the ground of Thousand Despair? But Wang Sheng didn't care what other people thought. Since he had set his goal, he would go on. Since entering Carefree City, Wang Sheng had quietly replenished his supplies of medicinal pills. He was ready to go out at any time. There was no need to waste time. The news of Wang Sheng leaving the city quickly spread to the ears of those who paid attention to Wang Sheng. Hearing this news, everyone was stunned. Did Wang Sheng take the wrong medicine? This was Carefree City. Once he left the city, he would no longer have any protection. People could do whatever they wanted to do. Although on the surface, all the big families had stopped pursuing Wang Sheng, who knew what they were secretly planning. Wang Sheng dared to leave the city. Wasn't he courting death? None of the people who received the news thought that Wang Sheng left the city through the ground of Thousand Despair. Only when the person who reported the news said it did they realize that something was wrong. Wang Sheng was going to enter the ground of Thousand Despair again. Why? No one knew what was wrong with Wang Sheng. Why did he suddenly want to enter the ground of Thousand Despair? However, everyone immediately became excited. Who cared what Wang Sheng wanted to do in the ground of Thousand Despair? As long as he entered, wouldn't they be able to understand some of the secrets of the ground of Thousand Despair? If they hesitated and failed to keep up with Wang Sheng, they wouldn't even be able to eat the leftovers. The various powers immediately arranged for experts to chase after Wang Sheng. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. They couldn't miss it. However, just as the experts arrived at the gates of the ground of Thousand Despair, they were stopped by the two guards assigned by the Carefree City. Coincidentally, the guards today were the two that Wang Sheng met when he entered the Carefree City. Old Liu and Liu Yang had met Wang Sheng once. Wang Sheng had specially asked them to warn the people behind him. Lone Wolf asked us to pass a message to everyone. He's going to bring something out. It won't be too deep and will only take 2 to 3 days. Don't make a fuss. Old Liu smiled and said to the excited experts who wanted to enter the ground of Thousand Despair. The ground of Thousand Despair is extremely dangerous. If you don't have the confidence, don't take the risk. This was actually nonsense. Who didn't know that the ground of Thousand Despair was dangerous? But because of this, everyone wanted to follow behind Wang Sheng to see if they could take advantage of the situation. If everyone insists on going in, Old Lu added, Lone Wolf said that you are responsible for your own life and death. It has nothing to do with him. Chapter 160. Leaving behind a few words was just an excuse from Wang Sheng. Did he really think that these guys would let go of such an opportunity? There was no need to even think about it. However, since Wang Sheng had said these things, if those forces wanted to take revenge in the future, then they couldn't blame Wang Sheng. Peaceful measures before resorting to force. Wang Sheng had already done enough. No one cared about Wang Sheng's words. After Old Lu said this, he didn't have any intention of stopping them, and no one turned around. They all shouted that they understood, then hurriedly chased after Wang Sheng according to Old Lu's directions. This time, all the forces restrained themselves and didn't send a large team to prevent Wang Sheng from misunderstanding. They really didn't want to kill Wang Sheng. They just wanted to follow Wang Sheng in and out of the Thousand Extremities and see if they could discover any secrets there. After entering the land of Thousand Extremities, Wang Sheng's equipment had been upgraded. The last time he entered the Thousand Extremities, Wang Sheng was still wearing the jungle camouflage clothes that he brought from Earth. This time, he was wearing the same armor made from the skin of a 6-star Night Star Wolf. The style was exactly the same, but its defense was many times stronger. This was just his outer clothes. Wang Sheng was also wearing underwear made from the same material. The underwear had a powerful formation, ensuring that it was warm in the winter and cool in the summer, while also providing enough defense. Outside the underwear, Wang Sheng also wore his own liquid bulletproof vest. It could be said that the defense was already at an abnormal level. The boots were made from the skin of a 5-star fang swine. The soles and the head of the boots were embedded with a lining made from the teeth of a Night Star Wolf that was even more abnormal than steel. Even if one stepped on the tip of a dagger, they would be fine. The simple and crude bamboo hat that Wang Sheng had made in the past was covered with several layers of linen to protect against insects. Wang Sheng had later replaced it with a tough net woven from the fur of the Night Star Wolf. Coupled with the bulletproof helmet and protective mask inside, its defensive capabilities were simply incredible. The gloves were made of the same material as the jacket. Now, Wang Sheng estimated that he only needed a headgear and half a bag to cover his entire body. All the fur had been tanned using a special method, so there was not a trace of the original smell of the material. Naturally, it would not alarm some demon beasts that were sensitive to smell. The Grandmaster level of the Linglong Pavilion was definitely a guarantee of quality. After entering the forest, Wang Sheng did not immediately sense any danger. He did not care whether the people behind him had caught up to him or not. He first found a small clearing and cut a large pile of grass and fresh branches. The new protective suit was grayish-white without any other colors. In the forest, it was like a big light bulb that could be seen through at a glance. Wang Sheng wanted to use the juice squeezed out of the grass and branches to color his own protective suit. There was another advantage to using these natural things, and that was that it would be contaminated with a large amount of plant odor, covering up Wang Sheng's body odor. It did not take long for the clothes on Wang Sheng's body to become a mix of dark and light green, no longer a simple grayish-white. Although it did not look as natural as if it was dyed by a machine, Wang Sheng's meticulously dyed jacket would not be easily discovered from 100 meters away in the forest. Of course, people like Wang Sheng who had strengthened their eyesight were an exception. When Wang Sheng got up again, there were already a few people following him. Wang Sheng noticed them, but he did not care. These people would not kill him here, so he just ignored them. There were not many people following him, and they had the same idea. They did not want to kill Wang Sheng here. Everyone just wanted to see if they could follow Wang Sheng, so that they could know a little about the situation inside the land of Thousand Despair. Both sides had a tacit understanding that they would not interfere with each other. Wang Sheng would not chase them away, nor would he deliberately avoid them, but they would not follow too closely either. Everyone was taking what they needed. Wang Sheng remembered that he had found little sharp pepper in the lair of the fanged swine a few dozen kilometers deep into the land of Thousand Despair. He was still walking in that direction, based on his memory and the map he had drawn. The compass on his watch could easily determine the direction. The experts following him were very surprised. In their eyes, Wang Sheng seemed to be very familiar with the land of Thousand Despair. He did not even need to determine the direction in the forest. He only needed to move forward. How'd he do this? What was even more amazing was that there were people among them who had tried to enter the land of Thousand Despair before. But once they entered more than 10 kilometers, they would always feel the strong aura of demonic beasts and were forced to turn back. But now that they had been following Wang Sheng for more than 2 hours and about 20 kilometers, they still did not feel the aura of a dangerous demonic beast. Why was that? Thinking back to Wang Sheng's several strange changes in direction, could it be that Wang Sheng knew the position of the demonic beasts in advance, so he avoided them in advance? Some of them refused to believe this. When Wang Sheng once again changed directions for no reason at all, 2 experts exchanged glances. Without saying a word, they signaled to the others. After that, the 2 of them continued moving forward in the same direction they had come from earlier. Although the people following him were not from the same force, now that everyone had entered the land of Thousand Despair, they naturally joined forces. Since someone was willing to take the risk, the others were naturally happy to sit back and enjoy the fruits of others' labor. Wang Sheng did not care about the people behind him, nor did he pay much attention to them. He had only sensed the danger and subconsciously avoided it. Now that Wang Sheng's cultivation was only at the peak of the first-degree realm, he had no interest in showing off his powerful demonic beast to the people behind him. After changing direction, Wang Sheng did not walk far. About 20 minutes later, the little person in his soul space started to give warnings to Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng had encountered this kind of situation before. This time, it was not Wang Sheng who was walking into the territory of the demonic beasts, but like man-eating ants. A large group of things were approaching Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng was shocked. What kind of situation was this? After listening attentively for a while, he soon heard a low, buzzing sound. Hearing this sound, Wang Sheng immediately heaved a sigh of relief. So as these things, the people behind him were already in a mess. There were 8 experts following Wang Sheng, but Wang Sheng did not pay attention to which realm they were in. But at this moment, they had completely fallen into a state of panic. Unhurriedly, Wang Sheng found a large tree with a slightly sunken trunk. Before the people behind him could catch up, he slowly leaned against the tree and stood still. Then he stuck 4 to 5 incense sticks in front of himself. This was a special kind of mosquito-repellent incense from Worry-Free City. When it was burned, it emitted a strong smell of insect repellent. At the same time, it also emitted a large amount of smoke. Without waiting for Wang Sheng to light these incense sticks, at least 5 experts had already rushed over. Looking at their panicked expressions, and then looking at the little things flying behind them, Wang Sheng smiled and lit the mosquito-repellent incense sticks one by one. Then he quietly leaned against the tree trunk and looked through the smoke. Chapter 161. Although the tracking experts were careful enough, but they still did not think that because they did not believe that Wang Sheng could predict the danger, the 2 companions who still went in the same direction would bring disaster to everyone. After walking forward for less than 10 minutes, the 2 guys saw a scene that made them scared out of their wits. In the small valley on the right front, there was a huge killer bee hive. If they had seen this hive earlier, they could have carefully bypassed it from a distance. With their cultivation, it was not difficult to not alarm these killer bees. However, the valley was blocked, and only when they reached this side did they see the hive. And this distance was already within the alert range of the killer bees. As a result, the 2 experts were directly chased by tens of thousands of killer bees. Although each killer bee was at most at the early stage of the first-degree realm, similar to those piranhas, but there were too many of them. One of them was very fast, directly turned around, and chased his companions. The other poor guy only ran a few hundred meters before he was caught up by the killer bees and had no choice but to frantically kill them. But no matter how fast he killed, the number of killer bees was not much, and soon his whole body was surrounded by killer bees. If he did not kill one, perhaps the result would be better, but he had already killed many killer bees in a panic. The 7 or 8 centimeters long killer bee. The length of the stinger was more than 4 centimeters, harder than steel. Even if the expert wore protective clothing and used spiritual chi to protect his body, he could not block such a large number of killer bee stingers. When the first stinger pierced his body, it brought a painful feeling like being stabbed by a soldering iron, and he could no longer block the stinger behind. The shrill scream made the fleeing companion even more panic and ran faster and faster. Everyone was just a temporary alliance, not real companions, and still belonged to their own forces. There was no need to give up his life for a temporary companion. The killer bee was only a little slower than him, so the escaping expert thought that he could still escape, but he never thought that the killer bee's habit was to chase the enemy for a day and night without giving up. When he escaped to the place where he separated from everyone, which was the place where Wang Sheng changed direction, he did not think about it and followed Wang Sheng's direction. Behind him, thousands of killer bees chased after him. By the time Wang Sheng sensed the danger, the killer bees were already less than 500 meters away from Wang Sheng. Fortunately, Wang Sheng had undergone strict training and was very clear about the habits of killer bees. He calmly prepared an escape route for himself. It was not entirely a path of retreat. Wang Sheng did not want to kill the killer bee, so he just watched calmly without releasing any aura. The mosquito-repellent incense outside emitted a large amount of smoke that the killer bees hated. At the same time, it also covered up Wang Sheng's presence and figure. The protective mask around his mouth and nose made Wang Sheng's breathing less obvious, making it difficult for the killer bees to see him. Those experts who were tracking him were in a miserable state. One of the 8 had already died. Of the remaining 7, 2 were caught off guard and were directly submerged by the killer bees. The remaining 5 panicked and ran forward. Even when they passed by Wang Sheng, they did not stop. It was not that they did not notice, but in this kind of situation, staying behind meant certain death. On the contrary, if they ran faster, they could escape the pursuit of the killer bees. 5 experts to be sent into the 1,000 despair grounds were at least in the 4th realm. In front of Wang Sheng, they were like rabbits that had been shot by an arrow, disappearing without a trace. At this time, the mosquito-repellent incense smoke also rose. Wang Sheng stood leaning against a tree, quietly watching the killer bees fly past him. It was not that there were no killer bees that occasionally passed through the smoke and landed on Wang Sheng's body. But Wang Sheng did not move, slightly holding his breath, quietly watching. The killer bees that landed on Wang Sheng's body had already been affected by the annoying mosquito-repellent incense smoke. Wang Sheng did not move, and the killer bees did not even realize that they had landed on a living person. After a short rest, the killer bees flew again, passing through the annoying mosquito-repellent incense smoke, caught up with the group, and continued the chase. From start to finish, there had been a large number of killer bees flying past for about 10 minutes. Wang Sheng also quietly stood there, motionless for the same amount of time. Finally, he could no longer see the killer bees, but Wang Sheng still did not move. He only slightly moved his hands and feet, but still stood in the same place. Half an hour later, the battle consciousness in his soul space once again sounded the alarm. Wang Sheng still stood in the same place, quietly watching the large number of killer bees fly back. This was the habit of the killer bees. No matter how far they flew, they would always return to the hive. Not a single killer bee returned. Wang Sheng was still cautious and did not move until the warning from the battle consciousness in his soul space completely disappeared. During this time, at least 5 killer bees were left far behind by the group, flying alone in front of Wang Sheng. Finally, there was no threat. Wang Sheng removed the mosquito-repellent incense, walked back a distance, and saw 2 red and swollen corpses. Their whole bodies could not be seen. They were at least twice as swollen as usual. Because their bodies were swollen, the clothes they wore were torn. There were several parts that looked like strong protective equipment. The swollen flesh was squeezed into a deformed state. In any case, Wang Sheng could no longer tell what they looked like in the past from their almost flat faces. He could only shake his head and sigh. Your luck is really bad. The people were dead. Of course, they could not leave anything for the corpses. Wang Sheng searched for a bit, but his harvest was not big. They were all experts from Worry-Free City who rushed out to chase him. How many things could they bring? Moreover, in Worry-Free City, it was a precarious situation. How many people could have a high-level thing like a storage ring? 2 white killer cards, 3rd to 5th level killer cards. Wang Sheng could not judge. They were all from Worry-Free City. They all had these things. Some of the defensive equipment was good. He could sell them for some pocket money. After sighing, Wang Sheng turned his head and continued to walk towards his destination. Not far ahead, he saw 3 more corpses surrounded by thousands of killer bee corpses. The 3 corpses were all red and swollen from the killer bee stings. After dealing with the same things, Wang Sheng continued to move forward. About 2 miles ahead, Wang Sheng saw another corpse. The death was exactly the same, but this one was a bit special. There was a half-burned torch in his hand. It seemed like he finally remembered that fire and smoke could drive away the killer bees, so he wanted to use this trick. Unfortunately, he forgot that he had already killed hundreds of killer bees. No matter how big the smoke was, those killer bees would still swarm over. When Wang Sheng arrived at a river, he finally saw a living person. Chapter 162. From Wang Sheng's count of the number of experts who had passed by him, this was the only survivor left. However, surviving was one thing, but he only had a single breath left. His face was pale, and his body was dripping wet. It was obvious that he had just climbed out of the river. When encountering such a large-scale killer bee swarm, jumping into the water to hide was also a very effective way, because it was impossible for a swarm of bees to jump into the water to chase and sting. This was also considered common sense. As long as one hid in the water, the swarm could not do anything but retreat. However, Wang Sheng looked at this seemingly only smart person and shook his head directly. He gave a thumbs up and said, "You dare to jump into the water of the land of 1,000 extremes. You have guts." The survivor did not seem to have any injuries, but for some reason, he was so weak that he could not even open his eyes. Hearing Wang Sheng's voice, he raised his eyelids slightly and his lips moved twice. He wanted to say something, but in the end, he did not say anything. Wang Sheng squatted down and carefully cut the survivor's sleeves with a dagger. Then he saw the scene he had guessed. There were at least 17 or 18 thick, dark leeches on one of the survivor's arms. Looking at the bodies of the leeches, it was obvious that they had sucked enough blood. On Earth, whether in the mountains or in the water, what Wang Sheng knew was that he had to be wary of leeches no matter what. After entering the water, he had to immediately check if there were leeches on his body. It was the same when walking in the jungle. If he did not wrap himself up tightly, it was easy for leeches to take advantage of him. The leeches had suction cups on their heads and had an anesthetic effect. Once they were attached to the skin, it was not easy to feel. When the leeches bit people or animals, they used the suction cups to suck the skin and drill into the flesh to suck blood. The amount of blood they sucked was very large, equivalent to 2 to 10 times their weight. The surviving experts were hit. Of course, they could not defend for a long time in the water. Moreover, their attention was attracted by the killer bee swarm. How could they care about the leeches? It was very normal to be stung without a sound. There were so many leeches on one arm. One could imagine how many there were on the other parts of the body. Wang Sheng did not continue to cut the other clothes of the survivor. He only looked. Fortunately, there were no leeches on his face, but there were many on the back of his head. These were the leeches from the 1,000 despair grounds. It was hard to say whether they were poisonous or not, but to be able to survive in the 1,000 despair grounds, they were definitely the kind of 5th or 6th degree realm demonic beasts that could suck dry even if they fell into the water. For a person to be sucked dry by so many leeches and still be able to survive until now, it was already considered that he was lucky enough. Pale face. Of course it was white. All the blood in his body had been sucked dry. It would be strange if he wasn't white. The survivor had held on for a long time, and this was also because his cultivation was high. Along the way, Wang Sheng had been slowly inspecting the corpses. When the survivors saw Wang Sheng, they felt a sense of relief. Right before Wang Sheng, the sole survivor breathed his last. He was very unwilling to leave. He had not been killed by the terrifying killer bees, but he had quietly died in the mouths of a large group of leeches. He was really unwilling. In Wang Sheng's hand, there were 5 white killer tokens. The one with the torch just now had a green killer token. From the body of the survivor, Wang Sheng found another green killer token. Everyone came from Worry-Free City. It was not strange for everyone to have a killer token. These people had followed Wang Sheng here on their own accord. Wang Sheng would not shed a single tear, even if he watched them die before his eyes. Moreover, Wang Sheng had already instructed Old Lu and Little Yang, who were stationed at the city gates, to advise them that once they entered the land of thousand extremities, they should be prepared to stay there forever. After resting for a while, Wang Sheng continued on his journey to look for Little Pepper. No one was following him, and no one provoked the dangerous demonic beasts. Wang Sheng's journey was unusually smooth. In less than 2 days, he arrived at his destination. Wang Sheng's memory was definitely not wrong. He could remember anyone he saw 3 months ago, not to mention the pepper. Of course, Wang Sheng did not taste it directly. This was a plant from the land of thousand extremes. Who knew if it was poisonous? It was better to handle it after he returned. This field of pepper covered half the hillside. Wang Sheng carefully picked a few dozen kilograms and put them in his storage ring. He even gathered a few intact plants and brought them along with him before he turned around and returned. It was impossible to go back the way he came. The demonic beasts in the land of thousand extremes were also free to move. There were no threats when he came here, but it was not so absolute when he returned. This was also one of the reasons why many experts couldn't return after entering the land of thousand extremes. However, Wang Sheng did not care about this. He could sense danger at any time. As long as he knew the right direction, he would not go wrong. The people in Worry-Free City who were paying attention to Wang Sheng felt that every day felt like a year. There had been no news of Wang Sheng for a few days. This made their hearts itch. They were worried about the safety of the experts they sent out, but they were also afraid that they would lose sight of Wang Sheng. The conflicting feelings made them want to bang their heads against the wall. When Wang Sheng's figure once again appeared in the vision of the guards who had been watching the land of thousand extremes from the top of the city wall became excited. Then, the news spread like wildfire, spreading throughout the entire Worry-Free City. Wang Sheng entered the land of thousand extremes again and came out safely. This fact proved that Wang Sheng could really go back and forth in the land of thousand extremes. When Wang Sheng arrived at the city gate, there were already a few people waiting for him. The people waiting were actually waiting for the experts who followed Wang Sheng into the land of thousand extremes. However, when Wang Sheng arrived at the city gate, those people still did not appear. Immediately, some people became anxious. They did not care if it was appropriate or not, and started to question Wang Sheng. Only me. Wang Sheng nodded and did not say anything else. The people waiting looked at each other in dismay. Where were the people they sent out? They were all experts. Although they did not dare to say that they were powerful, they were definitely much more powerful than Wang Sheng. Where were they? Are you guys waiting for someone? Wang Sheng stood at the city gate and asked. I met a few people in the land of thousand extremes. Where are they? Hearing Wang Sheng's words, an impatient person immediately asked. This person looked very familiar to Wang Sheng. He had seen him at the auction previously. He was probably the representative of a certain family. Among the people waiting, there were 2 or 3 who looked familiar. However, they were more calm and not as impatient as this person. Wang Sheng did not even bother to answer. He directly shook his head. With a flip of his hand, a stack of assassin tokens appeared in his hand. 5 of them were white and 2 of them were green. He carried them horizontally and placed them in front of those people. First of all, I have nothing to do with their deaths. Wang Sheng said. They encountered the killer bees and almost implicated me. Chapter 163. Seeing the killer token, the expressions on the faces of the few people changed. Hearing Wang Sheng's words, their faces turned red and white. It would be a miracle if it had nothing to do with you. However, this was already considered the inner city of the worry-free city, so no one dared to do anything to Wang Sheng. The few of them stepped forward and picked up the killer tokens of the people they sent out. Why is there one missing? One of them couldn't find a killer token and was overjoyed. Where are the people? I think they're at the killer bee's nest. Wang Sheng could only guess. I picked up the killer token when they were escaping. Their cultivation was much higher than yours, so why are you alive but they're dead? It was normal for them to be red-eyed. It wasn't easy for them to send out an expert only to return with a killer token. I have a way to avoid the killer bees. Wang Sheng looked at the red-eyed guy and smiled coldly. They don't. You're just going to watch them die? The red-eyed guy seemed to have sent out a powerful person, so he was already angry. You obviously have a way to avoid them, but you didn't save them. Are they my sons or grandsons? Why should I save them? Wang Sheng continued to smile coldly. That's the 1,000 despair grounds. Didn't anyone tell them to bear the consequences? Regardless of whether they were red-eyed or not, they were all speechless. Although Wang Sheng's reply was cold, it wasn't without reason. In the end, it was just a simple question. Why? Wang Sheng didn't owe anyone anything, nor did he owe anyone a favor. He wasn't even their relative, so why should he risk his life to save them? What's more, Wang Sheng had already warned the gatekeeper before he left the city to warn those who followed him into the grounds of despair not to enter carelessly, or else they would have to bear the consequences. Looking for Wang Sheng when something happened wasn't right. But just because these people didn't say anything didn't mean they accepted it. If it wasn't for the fact that Wang Sheng wanted to enter the 1,000 despair grounds, who would send people to follow him? If this debt wasn't on his head, who would? As for the starting point, who cared? Wang Sheng did not care how many people who had nothing to do with him died, nor did he care if the forces behind these people would blame it on him. In any case, he had already taken the lives of many people. What difference would it make if there were more or less? Those who deserved to kill him wouldn't let him go, and those who didn't want to kill him wouldn't kill him because of this. Wang Sheng did not care how these people were going to explain to the powers behind them. Under the astonished gazes of the gatekeepers and guards, Wang Sheng leisurely strolled back into Carefree City. He didn't go home directly. Instead, he went straight to the street where the Assassin's Hall was. This time, Wang Sheng entered the Imperial Treasury first. The representative of the Imperial Treasure House was Miss Ling, who was unhappy with Wang Sheng. She brought Wang Sheng to Marquis LV Wenho again. Wang Sheng took out an entire sharp pepper plant and a handful of sharp pepper fruits for LV Wenho and Ling to see. Miss Ling haven't you always been knowledgeable? Have you seen these things before? Wang Sheng held Ling slightly and asked his own question. Are they poisonous? The latter question didn't need to be asked. Anyone could test it. LV Wenho looked at the sharp pepper and frowned. Then, he immediately ordered people to find a few living small beasts. If he wanted to know whether it was poisonous or not, he could directly feed it to those small beasts. Ling on the other hand, stared at little sharp pepper as she tried her best to recall. This was something that even Wang Sheng did not know about. Whether or not Ling could beat Wang Sheng would depend on this match. The shape of the sharp pepper was very special. She should have seen it somewhere in the records. Ling thought for a while, and suddenly, a smile appeared on her face. Got it. After that, she didn't care that Wang Sheng and LV Wenho were still waiting for her to say the answer. Ling jumped up and then walked away with happy steps. When Wang Sheng saw this scene, he really didn't understand what it meant. He turned his gaze to LV Wenho. LV Wenho smiled bitterly and explained, I spoiled Ling but she didn't mean any harm. She should have gone to find the records of these things. With that said, Wang Sheng didn't find it strange anymore. After chatting with LV Wenho for a while, the servants had already found a few different small beasts. Wang Sheng and LV Wenho didn't need to do anything. Two servants cooperated. One opened the small beast's mouth, and the other stuffed a few sharp peppers. Moreover, they deliberately crushed half of the peppers and stuffed it into the small beast's mouth. When the one controlling the small beast let go, the small beast that had been fed with the sharp pepper began to go crazy. It wanted to spit it out, but it couldn't. It could only use other crazy actions to express its craziness. Poisonous? When LV Wenho saw this, he was shocked. What did Wang Sheng bring back? How could it make the small beast that had eaten it become so tyrannical? It wasn't just one small beast that had a problem. After feeding 6 or 7 different kinds of small beasts, they all behaved like this. LV Wenho already didn't have any hope. Poisonous things, he reckoned that he could only find a poison expert to figure out how to use it. Throw it away just because it's poisonous? What a joke. This was something that Wang Sheng had personally risked his life to get from the land of thousand despair. If there wasn't a huge benefit, would Wang Sheng take this trip? Even if it was poisonous, it was the kind that was valuable. However, Wang Sheng was watching with great interest. It was very normal for so many small beasts to go crazy. Of course, people would also go crazy after stuffing so many peppers into their mouths. The more crazy they were, the more spicy it was, and the better it was. Give them some water. Wang Sheng overstepped his authority and instructed LV Wenho. The servants didn't neglect Wang Sheng just because he wasn't the owner. They quickly fetched water and fed it to the small beasts. With the ice-cold water, the craziness of the small beasts finally subsided a little, and they slowly calmed down. After observing for a while, although the few little beasts would occasionally show signs of madness, none of them showed signs of weakness from being poisoned or signs of death. Everything looked very normal. But the craziness of the small beasts just now really left a deep impression on people. Even LV Wenho didn't dare to easily determine whether this thing was poisonous or not. Brother Wang. Turning his head, LV Wenho just called out. Before he could even finish his words, he saw a scene that made his soul fly away and scatter. Wang Sheng picked up a small red pepper and washed it. Then, he put it into his mouth and slowly chewed. LV Wenho couldn't say anything. He blankly looked at Wang Sheng's actions. He didn't dare to imagine that Wang Sheng was such a reckless person. He didn't even determine whether it was poisonous or not. Why did he eat it? Wang Sheng chewed a few times. His face revealed an extremely satisfied smile. Delicious. Good stuff. Chapter 164. Hearing the last 3 words, LV Wenho immediately threw all of his doubts to the 9 heavens. His eyes lit up, and he copied Wang Sheng's actions. He picked up a small pepper and washed it before putting it in his mouth. Before LV Wenho could learn from Wang Sheng, Ling Er's scream came from outside the door. Then Wang Sheng and LV Wenho saw Ling rushing like she had seen a ghost. She called out to her young master in panic and tried to force open his mouth to spit out the small pepper. From the door to LV Wenho's seat, Wang Sheng could already see the tears flowing down Ling Er's face. It was as if LV Wenho had eaten a poison and not a small pepper. LV Wenho really doted on Ling Er and cared a lot about her. Seeing Ling Er's expression, he bitterly smiled and spat out the small pepper. He even opened his mouth wide to let Ling Er see that there was nothing in his mouth. Only then did Ling Er feel relieved. Turning her head, Ling was about to get angry at Wang Sheng. However, when he saw Wang Sheng putting the second chili into his mouth and chewing it with relish, he was suddenly speechless. Relax. There's no poison. As Wang Sheng chewed, he felt the spicy taste that he hadn't felt for a long time. He was so happy that he almost moaned. Just by chewing 2 peppers, there was a little cheese kiss in his sore spirit space that was stimulated to level up. It could be seen that this spicy taste was something that people were looking forward to. Ling Er knew that she had made a joke of herself. She had just looked through a pile of information and found what she was looking for. When she rushed over, she heard a servant say that the little beast that Wang Sheng brought almost went crazy after eating it. She saw her young master eat one while she was still outside the door, so she acted like that because of her anxiousness. Now it seemed like it was a big joke. She was seen by that hateful fellow Wang Sheng. Someone has seen this thing before. Ling Er's face turned red, and she quickly changed the topic. There are some places that have this thing in the wild, but no one has paid attention to it. After saying this, Ling Er didn't say anything else. As for where they could be found and how many of them there were, he did not mention anything about them. That's good. Wang Xing nodded his head and said with a smile, it saves me the trouble of going into the land of thousand despair every time. Is it edible? LV Wen Ho had Ling by his side, so he didn't try it himself. Wang Xing didn't answer. He just nodded. He didn't stop chewing, and a look of enjoyment appeared on his face. Linger was furious. She picked one and cleaned it thoroughly. Then, she copied Wang Sheng and put the chili in her mouth. She stared at Wang Sheng provocatively and bit down hard. With just one bite, Linger felt as if she had eaten a mouthful of burning charcoal. How could someone who had never eaten chili before be able to accept such a strong taste? She screamed on the spot. Then, he spat out the chili that he had chewed. Wang Sheng wanted to laugh. LV Wen Ho was too embarrassed to do so, so he could only hold it in. However, he couldn't hide his expression of holding back his laughter. LV Wen Ho was shocked. Linger, it was his heart. How could he bear to hurt her? At this time, he couldn't care about anything else. He remembered that Wang Sheng fed water to those little beasts to alleviate the pain. He quickly picked up the cup of tea in front of him and fed it to Linger. Ling naturally didn't guard against LV Wen Ho. Her young master loved her so much. How could he harm her? Ling took a big gulp from her young master's teacup. Ling let out another blood-curdling scream. LV Wen Ho made an unforgivable mistake. Of course, this was also related to the fact that he didn't know what chili was. He fed Linger hot water. Drinking a mouthful of hot water when the spiciness in her mouth was getting worse was like adding snow to the snow. How could LV Wen Ho know that he would do something bad with good intentions? How could he know that at this time, he had to get some cold water to be effective? It must be said that the chili that Wang Sheng found was a very spicy variety. Only a glutton like Wang Sheng could bear it. This was Ling Er's first time. She was going to suffer, but she had no place to complain. Luckily, Wang Sheng was kind. He took a piece of fruit and handed it over. LV Wen Ho didn't care about anything else and took it to feed Ling Er. Luckily, this was the right thing to do. LV Wen Ho finally managed to calm Ling Er down. Even though she felt much better, Ling Er still felt like she was holding a piece of burning charcoal in her mouth. It was just that it wasn't as painful. That spicy taste was still there. It couldn't be driven away. Believe me, you will love it to death in the future. Wang Sheng finally stopped holding back his laughter. He looked at Ling Er, who was staring at him fiercely, and said sincerely, "Oomph." Ling didn't want to talk to Wang Sheng anymore. She snorted and turned her head away. Only when she faced her young master did Ling Er's expression become a little better. Brother LV, if I were you, I would quickly mobilize people to buy it on a large scale. Wang Sheng looked at LV Wen Ho and said with a smile, if possible, try to plan it on a large scale. LV Wen Ho became serious when it came to business. He asked solemnly, how should we plan it on a large scale? According to the average calculation, one person has to eat one per day. Wang Sheng picked up a medium-sized red pepper and said, how many should there be? Calculate it yourself. Hiss. LV Wen Ho sucked in a breath of cold air. Linger didn't care about Wang Sheng's attitude anymore. She started to calculate the scale of planting in her mind. If everyone ate so much per day, how much would it be in a year? And this was just one person. What if everyone in the world was like this? This was definitely a big business that could be compared to snow candy. Don't think too much about it. Wang Sheng smiled and said, it's just that we could be the first in the first 1 or 2 years. When we plant more, there won't be any secrets. We just need to make some quick money. What do you want? LV Wen Ho nodded, then looked at Wang Sheng and asked. It was impossible for Wang Sheng to give him a business for no reason. There must be something he wanted. It was just a matter of what Wang Sheng wanted. In this regard, LV Wen Ho was more like a businessman than the female owner of Bao Qing Yutang. He also paid attention to some small details. For example, he wouldn't go back on his word just because Wang Sheng had told him about it. Ground of Thousand Despair, Wang Sheng said without hesitation. What was the ground of Thousand Despair before? When did it become the ground of Thousand Despair? What's in it? Wang Sheng had wanted to know the answer to this question for a long time. However, he didn't know where to ask, especially the combat awareness little person. It was so amazing in the ground of thousand despair, but it couldn't come out. Why was that? Wang Sheng wasn't willing to give up until he found out the reason. Especially one point. The combat awareness little person was obviously related to the girl in his dreams. What did it have to do with the ground of thousand despair? Wang Sheng really wanted to know. Chapter 165. Wang Sheng left, but Ling was still a little angry. Why didn't you ask for an exclusive business like the snow candy? Ling pouted and asked her young master. Although Wang Sheng made her suffer, she was happy at the moment because she could lie in her young master's arms and act like a spoiled child. What's so good about this exclusive business? LV Wenho laughed. Do you really think it's so easy to do an exclusive business? Didn't that woman do the same? Ling was a little unconvinced. She knew that she was a lot worse than her young master in business. But wasn't that woman of Baoqing Yutang doing very well in her exclusive business? On the surface, it looks good, but do you know how many nights she can't sleep? LV Wenho scratched Ling little nose and said dotingly, I don't know how many people around are eyeing her exclusive business, guarding day and night, and can't sleep well for a day. How can she be like us, making quick money and living steadily? Seeing that Ling still didn't understand, LV Wenho explained again. Some things the secret seems very simple, but it's really not easy to find a way to protect it. That woman is wrong, eager for quick success and instant benefits. Do you still remember the snake venom business that Wang Sheng said? That is the real exclusive business that only we know that others can't imitate. After that, LV Wenho thoughtfully stared at the few small peppers left by Wang Sheng, curiously picked one up, washed it, and put it in his mouth. This time, Ling eyes showed a mischievous look. She also wanted to see what kind of expression her young master would have after tasting this thing. Wang Sheng only went to the imperial treasury once, and then returned to his home in the inner city. It was unknown how many people were itching to know some secrets of the place of thousand despair from him. But at this time, no one dared to go into the inner city and cause trouble. This time in the place of thousand despair, Wang Sheng picked dozens of small peppers. He didn't dare to say that it was enough to eat for a long time, but it was enough to try to make hundreds of new dishes. As long as Little Cheese Kiss leveled up, Wang Sheng would be able to break through to the second stage of Taotai transformation in a short period of time. Some of the chilies were dried, and the rest were kept as they were. After Wang Sheng made a simple distinction, he instructed the two chefs to make the simplest red soup hot pot for himself. There's something good to eat? As soon as the red soup hot pot was served, Ice Li and the shadow old eunuch appeared in Wang Sheng's courtyard on time. Ice Li smelled an unfamiliar pungent smell in the air and could not help but ask, Let's see how brave you are. Wang Sheng had interacted with these two masters for a long time, and his words had long become impolite. He directly provoked them. This is made from the seasoning I got from the Thousand Extremities zone. Do you dare to challenge me? How could Ice Li and the shadow old eunuch admit defeat in front of Wang Sheng, especially when it came to eating? They directly patted their chests in front of Wang Sheng and said that they would eat whatever Wang Sheng wanted them to eat, or they would do whatever Wang Sheng asked them to do. Wang Sheng smirked and began to throw the meat slices into the hot pot. All three of them knew how to boil the hot pot, but the soup base was different. Ice Li and the shadow old eunuch did not need Wang Sheng to teach them. They threw the meat slices they liked into the hot pot. For the taste, Wang Sheng put in enough chilies for the first meal. It was super spicy, just to recall the long-lost taste. But the two old guys had never eaten this kind of spicy food, and he did not know how they would behave later. The cooked meat slices dripping with red juice were picked up by Wang Sheng, and then he impatiently sent them into his mouth. He chewed with big mouthfuls, and his mouth made vague moans of satisfaction. Looking at Wang Sheng's expression, it was as if he had eaten the most delicious food in the world. Ice Li and the shadow old eunuch looked at each other, and without hesitation, they imitated Wang Sheng and sent the meat slices they had just scooped up into their mouths. Wang Sheng's cultivation was not very good, and he had all kinds of unorthodox skills. But in terms of eating, this brat had never disappointed anyone in Carefree City. Once the meat slices entered their mouths, the two old guys' faces immediately revealed extremely interesting expressions. The sudden and fierce taste almost made them spit out the meat slices in their mouths. Finally, they remembered what they had said when they patted their chests and understood the severity of the consequences. They forced themselves not to spit it out, but the two old guys' faces turned red at the same time. It was their first time eating chilies, and they had eaten such an insanely spicy taste. Ice Lee and the shadow old eunuch were definitely addicted. They held the meat slices in their mouths for at least 2 minutes, not daring to chew or spit them out. They just endured it like that. But when their mouths slowly adapted to this spicy taste, the meat slices in their mouths became another kind of delicacy that they had never tasted before. After chewing a few times, a slight pain seeped out from the meat slices. It was unexpectedly, unprecedentedly delicious. It was only at this time that Wang Sheng's behavior became a little more normal. When he ate, he also made a few hissing sounds. It was obvious that he had been holding it in just now, and only now did he truly eat to his heart's content. The two old men were not to be outdone. They ate all the meat slices prepared by Wang Sheng, as if they were fighting for food with Wang Sheng. Only then did they rub their stomachs and burp to relieve the spicy taste in their mouths. If only there was iced beer, Wang Sheng muttered. Wang Sheng mumbled to himself. Suddenly, he saw Frost Lee and immediately remembered the skill of this expert. He slapped his head in frustration. How could he have forgotten about him? Next time, bring some light wine. It's good to drink it when you eat. Wang Sheng urged Ice Lee. It was too late for regrets. Why didn't you say so earlier? Ice Lee complained. At this time, he also came back to his senses. If there was ice wine, the first mouthful wouldn't be so uncomfortable. Wang Sheng didn't say it. It was obvious that he wanted to see them make a fool of themselves. But to be honest, this spicy taste was really different. It made people look forward to it. After eating it, they wanted to eat it again. It was very good, but when they thought that this thing was only produced in the Thousand Despair Land, the two of them sighed. The quantity was limited. If they wanted to eat it, they could only eat it at Wang Sheng's place. It was the shadow old eunuch who asked a question. Looking at the whole pepper that Wang Sheng took out, he didn't say anything and just nodded his head. After sending away the two experts, Wang Sheng comfortably lied down on the recliner. Eating delicious food was one goal, but the most important thing was to level up little Chi One. His consciousness entered the spirit space. Wang Sheng easily materialized the red soup hot pot. A little Chi One quickly leveled up. Seeing this scene, Wang Sheng was completely relieved. Although it only added a taste, it immediately became a different taste. Little Chi One recognized it, and the key was that the spirit space also recognized it. Wang Sheng let out a sigh of relief and continued his seemingly leisurely life. But the forces that were watching Wang Sheng couldn't sit still. Ever since the matter of Wang Sheng going in and out of the Thousand Despair Land spread out, everyone's curiosity towards the Thousand Despair Land had risen to an unprecedented level. Especially when the 8 experts that followed Wang Sheng didn't come back, but Wang Sheng came back in one piece. This showed that Wang Sheng really had the ability to go in and out of the Thousand Despair Land. The first time was a fluke, but what about the second time? Chapter 166. Previously, Wang Sheng had announced the secret of his spirit being able to level up. This action had satisfied everyone, including the Dai family. Although the Dai family's descendants were immediately assassinated, they still paid a hefty price to find out the secret that Wang Sheng had announced through various channels. Everyone felt that the secret that Wang Sheng had mentioned was reasonable. Of course, they understood that it was about the spirit being able to level up. Other than Song Laoyu, no one else knew that the confidence that Wang Sheng had jokingly said at the beginning was more likely to be the real secret. Since Wang Sheng had already cooperated with all parties once, would he consider cooperating with the Thousand Despair Grounds a second time? Important people from all parties began to rush to Worry-Free City. Some important decisions could be made directly in Worry-Free City, and there was no need to go through the trouble of sending messages back and forth. All the forces were frantically searching for information related to the spirit being able to level up, but none of them paid attention to Wang Sheng. It could be said that the matter of Wang Sheng's spirit being able to level up had come to an end for Wang Sheng. Everyone knew that Wang Sheng was a barbarian of unknown origin, and he had only just come into contact with the spirit, so how could he know such a high-level secret? In the eyes of all the forces, Wang Sheng's position in the matter of the spirit being able to level up was equivalent to a successful lab rat, nothing more. However, Wang Sheng did not think so now. He had now more and more acknowledged the effect of firm confidence on the spirit being able to level up. If the legend of the carp leaping over the dragon's gate could not completely prove this, then the various delicacies that Wang Sheng had conjured up had completely proved this point. Wang Sheng had just done an experiment. After conjuring up the red soup hot pot, Wang Sheng once again conjured up the fish-flavored shredded pork in his spirit space, which he thought would be very difficult to conjure up. In the end, this dish was easily conjured up. After pondering for a while, Wang Sheng figured out the reason. Why was it so difficult for Wang Sheng to make a simple dish of Yuxiang shredded pork, but it was so easy for him to make a braised dish that had already been made? Wasn't it because the braised dish he made and instructed others to make? Wasn't it because he had absolute confidence that it would be so easy? The reason why it was difficult to instantiate Yuxiang shredded pork was because Wang Sheng subconsciously thought that chili didn't exist in this world, so he didn't have much confidence in instantiating it. Now that Wang Sheng had found the chili, even if he had never made Yuxiang shredded pork before, it was as easy as making braised meat and hot pot. Subconsciously, Wang Sheng firmly believed that it was possible. Thus, he was able to do it easily. Just like how Wang Sheng firmly believed that he would become stronger and that his source spirit would be upgraded, it was all because of his confidence. After discovering this, Wang Sheng became even more overjoyed. He spent the entire night conjuring up new spicy Sichuan and Hunan cuisines at lightning speed. Ever since Wang Sheng entered the peak of the first-degree realm, the number of delicacies that Wang Sheng could conjure up in a day had increased from 10 to 20. It was just that Wang Sheng couldn't do it because he didn't have chili. Now, his wish had finally come true. This trip to the grounds of Thousand Despair was not in vain. Who would have thought that Wang Sheng was actually cultivating even though he looked like he was a gourmet? Wang Sheng's path was completely different from the one that existed in this world. He had embarked on a completely different path. The next day, Wang Sheng basically didn't instruct the chefs on how to make new dishes. Instead, he asked them to start from scratch and take turns to make the dishes that he had taught them before. Wang Sheng's tongue was very different from before. When a dish entered his mouth, he could almost instantly judge whether the taste was just right, what was too much or too little, whether the heat was too much or too little, and how to improve it. Wang Sheng could say everything clearly and logically. The previous dishes were all made by Wang Sheng in order to rush to level up the little cheese kiss. He didn't pay attention to the various delicacies, and it included many dishes that already existed in this world. Now that he didn't have to make new dishes to be able to conjure up delicacies, Wang Sheng was naturally happy and relaxed. Moreover, the previous dishes had to be perfected. He couldn't let the dishes that he made be criticized by others. In this way, the chefs were in a tragedy. Wang Sheng's perverted sense of taste had trained them to the point where they wished they were dead. Wang Sheng was able to taste anything that wasn't done well, and they had to redo it. Under Wang Sheng's attitude of striving for perfection, each of the 6 chefs made a dish. The results after one day were even more remarkable than the results of several days of practice before. Finally, after a day of hard work, Wang Sheng nodded. This also meant that the 6 of them could be said to be at the master level in their respective dishes. During the day, he trained these chefs, and at night, Wang Sheng continued his own cultivation. In a few days, Wang Sheng completed the upgrade of more than 100 little cheese kisses. It seemed that in another 10 days, at most 20 days, all the little cheese kisses would be upgraded. In terms of cultivation, Wang Sheng was not greedy. According to the speed of 20 a day, he was not in a hurry to cultivate. In addition to training the chefs during the day, Wang Sheng also tidied up his yard. In the yard, he made some horizontal and parallel bars, dumbbells, barbells, and so on. When he had nothing to do, he would do muscle exercises, forcibly using this large amount of exercise to stimulate the body to be nourished by the spiritual energy. Wang Sheng did not forget that his cultivation time was short and the spiritual energy nourishment was insufficient. Moreover, he came from the earth and had not been exposed to the spiritual energy of this world since he was a child. It could be considered a congenital deficiency. Waiting for the spiritual energy to naturally enter the body to nourish every day was definitely inefficient. So Wang Sheng could only use some stimulating methods to carry it out. Fortunately, this kind of exercise was efficient while absorbing spiritual energy while working out. After a few days, Wang Sheng felt that he had almost the same effect as a normal month. On this side, Wang Sheng seemed to be so leisurely that he didn't know what to do, but on the other side, the 3 parties who ate the dishes made by the 6 chefs almost swallowed their tongues. A young guest of the city lord's mansion, after eating only 2 mouthfuls, no longer cared about the graceful and elegant image of a noble young master. He swung his cheeks and ate crazily, looking terrible. Is this the food that you said was made under the guidance of the barbarian? It was not until he wolfed down the food and licked the plate clean that the noble young master sat up straight with satisfaction and asked. Yes, the city lord, who was in the main seat, looked at the noble young master with a smile and replied, "It was him who made it." In addition, although he is indeed a barbarian, he is also a level 5 killer of Carefree City. You can call him Wang Sheng or Lone Wolf, but don't call him a barbarian. Why? The noble young master asked disdainfully. Young Master Lu. The city lord replied with a smile. After eating these, don't you feel that we are actually barbarians? Chapter 167. The young master was speechless. Even though he had lived a luxurious life, he still felt that the food he ate was not bad. Now that he had licked the plate clean, he really couldn't say the word not bad. The food he ate in the past was simply pig's feed. No, it was even worse than pig's feed. To think that he thought that the food he ate was not bad. He was really a frog in a well. It was not the first or second day that the city lord had this feeling. Thankfully, he had been eating it for a long time. Furthermore, he had learned the basics from Wang Sheng's trial and error, so he adapted very quickly. There was no sudden qualitative leap in his skills, so he felt fine. However, young Master Lu started talking about the advanced dishes that Wang Sheng had carefully taught him. It would be strange if he didn't rebel. This was also the reason why he had to agree with the city lord, even though he wanted to belittle Wang Sheng. Just in terms of food, Wang Sheng could leave them in the dust. If he was a barbarian who ate like that, then what were they? A barbarian who ate raw meat and drank blood. After a long silence, young Master Lu raised his head and asked the city lord seriously, "Are you sure you saw that thing?" The city lord nodded without saying a word. "You really saw it?" Young Master Lu didn't give up and asked again. His expression was full of disbelief. "If you don't believe me, you can leave overnight." The city lord was the person who made decisions in Worry-Free City. How could he let a young master question him? His tone also became indifferent. "That's not what I meant." Hearing the city lord's words, young Master Lu also knew that he had said the wrong thing. He hurriedly apologized. "Sorry, I was just too impatient. If you want to know more, I'm afraid that what you brought is not enough." The city lord nodded and his expression softened. He said to young Master Lu, "It depends on how important that senior of yours is. I can do it here. Maybe Lone Wolf still needs to pay a sufficient price." "That's easy." Young Master Lu wasn't a person who cared about money. He immediately echoed, "As long as it's true, he can ask for anything. It's just some gold coins." The city lord smiled, but did not say anything. Perhaps when this young Master Lu met Wang Sheng, he would know what Wang Sheng wanted. Of course, Wang Sheng was a very smart person. He probably wouldn't come up with any harsh conditions. At least, that was what the city lord thought. During these days, Wang Sheng ate well and slept well. Apart from cultivating and materializing delicacies, he was either standing on the primordial chaos pillar or exercising his muscles. His life was really comfortable. Of course, There was no lack of boxing without equipment, but in the eyes of the experts, they all scoffed at his bouncing Sanda posture. Although Wang Sheng's cultivation method made those experts look down on him, no one underestimated his combat strength. After all, Wang Sheng had killed a fifth-degree realm assassin on the streets like a spear. Not to mention that Wang Sheng used a divine weapon. The fact that he had this divine weapon was his combat power. However, it wasn't that Wang Sheng didn't have anything that they admired. For example, the delicacies that he cooked up were really good. Although Carefree City was only famous for braised food, the nearby people all knew that the dishes that Wang Sheng made every day were the real delicacies. Besides, that reclining chair was really comfortable. The city lord generously gave one to the experts in the inner city. When they rested, they could sit and rock on it. It wasn't too comfortable. Wang Sheng was currently sitting in his rocking chair, slowly rocking back and forth as he relaxed. The rocking chair was in Wang Sheng's butcher shop, but this butcher shop hadn't been open for a long time by Wang Sheng. He wasn't sure of money now. While resting with his eyes closed, Wang Sheng sensed that someone was observing him. This was purely an intuition. Previously on Earth, Wang Sheng was already very sensitive. After his cultivation reached the first-degree realm, he was even more sensitive. He could confirm that someone was staring at him. When he opened his eyes, Wang Sheng saw 3 people standing at the entrance of his shop. Just as Wang Sheng felt, the 3 of them stared at Wang Sheng without blinking, as though they were trying to confirm something. This shop, Wang Sheng had only opened the door for ventilation. He didn't intend to do any business. It was extremely rude for these 3 people to stare at him like that. Among the 3 of them, the young master in the middle was obviously the master. On his left and right were 2 servants, so it was easy to recognize him. "Your lone wolf?" The young master asked with a smile when he saw Wang Sheng open his eyes. He didn't know if it was because he was in Carefree City, but this fellow had learned to put on a smiling and amiable face. However, it couldn't hide the disdain in his heart. When these 2 opposing emotions were mixed together, it was indescribably uncomfortable. "That's me." Wang Sheng didn't care about his attitude and replied. This was the inner city of Carefree City. No matter how arrogant a fellow was, he wouldn't dare to make a move here. In fact, Wang Sheng could completely ignore him. However, since it was a cloudy day and he had nothing better to do, he might as well ask the other party what he wanted. Of course, since he called out his name, Wang Sheng wouldn't be able to reject him so easily. Hence, he might as well ask for the details. "My surname is Liu, and I'm here to look for you." Young Master Liu introduced himself, but he only said his surname. "I heard that you have a sharp dagger that you use to cut meat. Can I take a look?" The dagger in Wang Sheng's hand, other than the tiger fang knife that he brought from Earth, was a black dagger that he found in the tree hole of the lone wolf's lair in the grounds of Thousand Despair. The dagger that he used to cut meat was definitely the one he used. When he found the dagger in the grounds of Thousand Despair, Wang Sheng knew that this dagger definitely had a powerful background. That expert definitely had a powerful faction behind him. Furthermore, the expert himself was a super expert. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to go so deep into the grounds of Thousand Despair. Using such a sharp and valuable dagger as a meat cleaver was originally a method for Wang Sheng to lure the snake out of its hole. Since he had already attracted someone who knew his stuff, Wang Sheng wouldn't hide it anymore. The dagger instantly appeared in Wang Sheng's hand. Holding the dagger, he gestured towards young Master Liu, who was standing at the door. Then, with a flick of his hand, the dagger transformed into a ray of black light and flew towards the door they were standing at. In the instant that Wang Sheng threw out his dagger, 2 servants appeared in front of young Master Liu, shielding him. Fortunately, they were experts and could tell that Wang Sheng's dagger wasn't aimed at them. Hence, I didn't make a move. However, their gazes were filled with hostility. Wang Sheng couldn't care less about their gazes. If he couldn't even tolerate such a small matter in the worry-free city, he might as well leave as soon as possible. One of the servants fiercely glared at Wang Sheng before pulling out the dagger that was nailed to the door. Without even looking at it, he handed it over to young Master Liu with both hands. Young Master Liu took the dagger and only took a few glances at it before revealing an excited expression. Chapter 168. Young Master Lu hid his excited gaze very well, but it couldn't escape Wang Sheng's eyes. What did Wang Sheng do for a living? He was a super sniper who could accurately find the target mission with just a few glances in the square of thousands of people. He relied on his eyes to make a living. This wasn't the specially enhanced vision when he transformed into Qi Wan. How could he miss it? Excuse me, where did you get this dagger? Young Master Lu seemed to be able to control his emotions very well. He calmed down in an instant and waved his hand. The two servants stood behind him obediently. Young Master Lu then played with the dagger and asked casually, "If you can, I want to buy it. Is that okay?" It was as though he had suddenly taken an interest in the sharp dagger. On one hand, he politely asked Wang Sheng for his opinion on the matter, and on the other hand, he casually asked about the dagger's origins. Everything about him made him seem like he was a buyer. Before Wang Sheng answered, young Master Lu seemed to realize that he was a little too eager. He explained again, "I also heard that this dagger is very sharp. That hole was made by this dagger, right?" When he asked, young Master Lu pointed at the hole that Wang Sheng stabbed on the iron board. Everything seemed to indicate that he came because of the dagger's reputation. "Sure," Wang Sheng replied with a smile. "It's just a dagger. It's rare that young Master Lu likes it." He agreed to sell something, but Wang Sheng didn't mention the origin of this dagger. In addition, he didn't state the price either. He was waiting for young Master Lu to state the price himself. Was his attitude good? It couldn't be better. He couldn't find a reason to be angry. Was he going to directly ask about the dagger's origin? Wouldn't that be raising the price on the spot? Lone Wolf, young Master Lu is a VIP of the Castellan Mansion. If possible, please make things convenient for him. When young Master Lu was at his wit's end, Wang Sheng heard the familiar voice of the Castellan Mansion's butler. The steward's figure silently appeared a dozen steps behind young Master Lu, just enough for Wang Sheng to see, and just enough for Wang Sheng to hear, but it didn't hinder the deal between Wang Sheng and young Master Lu. It was a very appropriate place. However, a smile quickly appeared on Wang Sheng's face. On the surface, the housekeeper was reminding Wang Sheng that young Master Lu was a distinguished guest, but when he spoke, there was a slight twist on the word distinguished guest. It sounded as if he had an accent. Wang Sheng immediately understood. Not only did this guest have a high status, but his family background was also expensive enough. He was a big fat sheep. Young Master wishes to know the origin of this dagger. Wang Sheng smiled, and his attitude immediately became much warmer. He stood up from the rocking chair and said with a smile, "To tell you the truth, I found this in the land of 1,000 despair." Hearing that it was the land of 1,000 despair, not only young Master Lu, but even the butler behind him had a change in expression. When he saw Wang Sheng glance over, he even smiled at Wang Sheng, as if encouraging him. "Where's the land of 1,000 despair?" Young Master Lu was obviously not a shrewd old fox. His face immediately showed an excited expression, and he asked anxiously, "What else is there with the dagger?" This time, Wang Sheng just smiled and didn't say anything. He looked at young Master Lu calmly, as if asking why he should tell him. Young Master Lu waited expectantly for Wang Sheng's answer, but in the end, Wang Sheng just stood there calmly without saying anything. Young Master Lu's expression immediately changed. Just as he was about to lose his temper, a servant behind him quickly moved to his ear and reminded him. Hearing the servant's reminder, anger flashed across young Master Lu's face. He suppressed his anger and took a few deep breaths to suppress the rising anger. There wasn't a single good person in this city. A city lord's benefits, but when it came to this guy, he still had to pay a price. Since young Master Lu was born a high-class person. He had always been the one giving orders and taking whatever he wanted. When had he ever met someone who wouldn't give him information without benefits? It was only in Carefree City that he couldn't teach Wang Sheng a lesson. If it was in his territory, he would definitely teach Wang Sheng the rules. "How do you talk so much when I ask you a question? Say it. What do you want?" Young Master Lu was unhappy, and his expression became arrogant. Since Wang Sheng wanted to state his conditions, he was just a lackey who was paid to do things. There was no need for him to be so polite. And a necklace. Wang Sheng didn't state his conditions directly, but answered young Master Lu's question with an abnormal smile. Hearing that there was a necklace, young Master Lu's expression changed even more, and he shouted without thinking, "Give it to me. What are you giving me in exchange?" Wang Sheng laughed again. This young Master Lu was really naive. Did he think that everyone was his servant? He wanted it just because he wanted it? Young Master Lu was startled. He clenched his fist and almost wanted to attack. Not far away, the butler coughed lightly, as though to remind young Master Lu that this wasn't his territory, but the inner city of Carefree City. In any case, whoever spoke first would be at a disadvantage in the current situation. Wang Sheng had something in his hands, so he wasn't afraid that it wouldn't sell for a good price. Although young Master Lu was holding a dagger, it was only a dagger. The important thing was the whereabouts of the owner of the dagger, wasn't it? On the other side, the servant sighed and walked forward. He whispered a reminder into his young master's ear, and young Master Lu immediately revealed a smile. "I heard that you offered a reward of hundreds of thousands of gold coins for the Pill of Fortune in Carefree City." Young Master Lu was obviously pleased that he had grasped hold of Wang Sheng. He laughed brightly. "You don't have to offer the reward anymore. Give me the necklace, and I will tell you about the Pill of Fortune." When Wang Sheng heard that it was the Pill of Fortune, he didn't say anything else. With a flip of his hand, a necklace appeared in his hand. It was the necklace worn by the owner of the dagger. The necklace was a jade pendant, the one with a unique mark on it. Seeing the jade pendant, not only young Master Lu, but even the eyes of the two servants lit up. If it wasn't for the butler's coughing, the three of them would have rushed forward together. "Give it to me." Young Master Lu's eyes were about to turn red, and he was practically shouting these two words. "News of the Pill of Fortune." Wang Sheng calmly flipped his hand and held the jade pendant in his hand as he looked at young Master Lu. "My family has the Pill of Fortune." Young Master Lu's face tensed up, and he suddenly laughed as he replied. This news caused Wang Sheng's eyes to widen involuntarily. This guy actually had the legendary Pill of Fortune in his family? In other words, this guy was actually a disciple of some hidden family? Looking at the butler, the Lord Butler nodded his head subtly, acknowledging young Master Lu's words. Without another word, Wang Sheng threw the jade pendant towards young Master Lu. Young Master Lu stretched out his hand and grabbed the jade pendant tightly. After looking at it carefully, he smiled and kept it. He then said to Wang Sheng, "Although my family has the Pill of Fortune, you will never be able to obtain it." Chapter 169. "Oh," Wang Sheng replied non-committally and then said faintly, "I just need to know the news. Someone will naturally send it to me." Young Master Lu had already gotten what he wanted. He didn't mind letting Wang Sheng, who he had never looked up to from the bottom of his heart, know what it meant to be as blind as a bat. He waved the jade pendant in his hand and smiled. This time, young Master Lu's smile was really the kind of happiness that came from the bottom of his heart. Happy. He took back the jade pendant with a reply, as if he was playing with the other party. The unhappiness from before also vanished with the jade pendant in his hand. "Do you know what this is?" Young Master Lu waved the jade pendant and asked Wang Sheng. "Family emblem." Wang Sheng replied without thinking. "Maybe it's the mark of a certain sect. It's nothing more than this." "That's right, the mark of a sect." Young Master Lu looked at Wang Sheng like a mouse looking at a cat. His good mood was maintained, and he was extremely happy. "Then do you know the use of this sect mark?" Before Wang Sheng answered, young Master Lu had already shook his head and laughed. "You don't know? If you knew, you wouldn't give it to me just because of the news of the nature pill, right?" "Yes." Wang Sheng laughed and answered very cooperatively. He believed that as long as he cooperated, young Master Lu would tell him all the inside story without him having to force confession. It was a very interesting mentality. Originally, you could bring this to them and ask to join the sect unconditionally. As expected, young Master Lu was extremely cooperative. He said the answer in a tone of mourning for his misfortune and angry at his incompetence. Do you know how many people cry and shout in their dreams to join us? Such a powerful sect? Wang Sheng showed his shock and regret at the right time, and then asked anxiously, "What sect is so powerful?" "You have no chance." Young Master Lu enjoyed the pain of Wang Sheng, but he would never easily say the name of the sect. In his eyes, Wang Sheng did not even have the qualifications to know the name of the sect. Of course, young Master Lu secretly said in his heart, "Now this opportunity is mine. If I join this sect, will I be able to get news about the nature pill?" Wang Sheng seemed to be a little confused and asked a question that made young Master Lu even more proud. Of course, how could young Master Lu let go of this chance to show off his sense of superiority? But as if he wanted to comfort Wang Sheng, he added on, "But you have to at least reach the 5th degree realm before you are qualified to join the sect. With your current cultivation." Young Master Lu didn't finish his sentence and directly shook his head. Wang Sheng immediately patted his chest in relief. He let out a long breath and said, "Thank goodness, thank goodness. At least I know the whereabouts of the good fortune pill now." Young Master Lu was dumbfounded by Wang Sheng's performance. Was this guy an idiot? Do you know what sect this is? Do you know how many core disciples of big families want to join but don't have the connections? Just the news of a nature pill could make this guy so satisfied. But what's the use of this news? Young Master Lu had already made it clear that telling you the news was the same as telling you the news. But Wang Sheng would never get the nature pill. Did he really think that the nature pill was something that anyone could get their hands on? Letting you know the name was already a gift. Could it be that this guy wanted to get his hands on the nature pill? Not to mention Wang Sheng. Even young Master Lu himself only knew of the existence of the nature pill. He didn't even have the chance to use it. To an ordinary disciple like him, the nature pill was a legendary existence that they could only dream of. At most, they knew a little more than ordinary people and knew that the existence of the nature pill was not an illusion. Perhaps this time, if he took back the sect's jade pendant, he might have the chance to get some rewards from the upper echelons of the family. After all, he had the chance to join the legendary sect. But the nature pill, young Master Lu directly shook his head in his heart. He only knew that his family had the nature pill because of his father's connections. The news was true, but he had never seen it before. Even he had no chance, let alone a barbarian from the worry-free city. Moreover, even if he gave the nature pill to Wang Sheng, so what? With Wang Sheng's cultivation, if he ate the nature pill, there would only be one result, and that was to explode from the surging spiritual energy. The city lord's housekeeper was standing not far away. Initially, he didn't think much of it, but when he heard the latter part of the conversation, his expression changed. This jade pendant was actually the token to join the sect. But under the housekeeper's nod, Wang Sheng actually handed over the jade pendant in exchange for the news of the nature pill that he would never be able to obtain. This was going to be big trouble. If the city lord knew of this news, he would probably fly into a rage. Once the city lord got angry, something big would probably happen in the worry-free city. The housekeeper was also complaining incessantly in his heart. Who knew that the jade pendant in Wang Sheng's hands had such an effect? Moreover, who knew that Wang Sheng had such a jade pendant in his hands? Wang Sheng didn't say anything, and young Master Lu only said that it was a dagger. No one knew that there was such a thing as a jade pendant. This was going to be a huge problem. The benefits that were supposed to fall into the worry-free city were actually snatched away by a young Master Lu. No matter how powerful the family behind young Master Lu was, the worry-free city would probably not let the matter rest. When the time came, there would probably be another round of disputes. Who knows, there might even be a big fight. While the housekeeper was having a headache, Wang Sheng was acting all sorts of emotions on the surface, but his heart was as calm as usual. So what if the jade pendant was powerful? Could it be that Wang Sheng could leave the worry-free city now? As long as he left with the jade pendant, he would definitely die a tragic death. Wouldn't the jade pendant end up in someone else's hands? If he could use it to exchange for the news of the nature pill that he needed, it would be more useful than anything else. As for young Master Lu's statement that Wang Sheng would definitely not be able to obtain the nature pill, that was even more of a joke. Previously, Wang Sheng didn't know where to find the nature pill. Now that he had concrete information, wouldn't it be a matter of time for him to get them to bring it out? Other than the dagger and the jade pendant, I also found some other things. Wang Sheng waited for young Master Lu to be more or less pleased with himself before he slowly opened his mouth. Young Master Lu's smile immediately froze on his face. Not far away, the housekeeper's expression became increasingly ugly. He had already started to signal the experts to hurry over. Actually, there was a map beside the dagger. Pausing for a moment, Wang Sheng looked at young Master Lu's suddenly cold smile and added, a hand-drawn map, in a small part of the grounds of Thousand Extremities. Chapter 170. Hand it over. Young Master Lu bellowed as he dashed forward. The two servants behind young Master Lu saw young Master Lu making a move, and without a second word, they also dashed forward. From the door to where Wang Sheng was, it was at most a distance of 4 to 5 steps. Although young Master Lu's cultivation was not very high, only around the 3rd degree realm, his two servants were experts in the 4th degree realm. With such a short distance, they would be able to rush over in a single leap. As soon as Wang Sheng said this, he quickly retreated. It was as if he had already expected this to happen. However, Wang Sheng only retreated out of his shop and returned to his courtyard. He no longer retreated and started to watch the show. This was the inner city of Carefree City, and not far away was the majestic City Lord's residence. Here, other than the City Lord, no one else was allowed to make a move on the residence of Carefree City. Young Master Lu might have thought that because he was from a secretive family, his status was noble, but if he made a move here, he had already violated the taboo of all the experts in Carefree City. Bang! The servant who rushed to the front suddenly seemed to have hit a wall. The wall had a huge rebound force and directly flew up. From where he had rushed over, he was now flying back to where he came from. Not only that, while he was still in the air, he had instantly turned into a lump of ice, turning into a solid ice man. His entire body was emitting cold air, and when he landed, he was unable to make any other movements. Maintaining the form that he had just flown up, he fell heavily on the ground and then flipped over. In just a short period of time, a thin layer of ice had formed around the body of that servant. Wang Sheng saw it clearly. In an instant, that fellow's blood and tissues had all been frozen. Even if he was warmed up, he would be crippled. Moreover, when they took action, they did not think that the other party could be saved. Han Bing Li's figure silently appeared in the direction where the servant had just rushed over. His pair of old eyes had become incomparably sharp, as if it was carrying a knife. Wherever his gaze swept, there was a burst of coldness. When young Master Lu's figure was stared at by this gaze, it was as if he had been cast with a body-freezing spell. He speedily froze on the spot, his face filled with fear. Just as he was about to call out to his other slave, he suddenly discovered that the other slave had disappeared without him knowing. Just as he saw Han Bingley freeze one of his servants with a palm strike, the other servant, whose cultivation was much higher than his, actually disappeared without a trace. The sound of something rolling came from behind him, but young Master Lu was stunned by Ice Li's gaze and did not dare move. But the next moment, when the thing rolled in front of him and entered his field of vision, young Master Lu almost jumped up. The rolling object was a human head. The familiar face and hairstyle indicated that it was the head of another of his servants. But how long has it been? He, a 4th degree realm servant, was beheaded without a sound? At this moment, young Master Lu's noble status as a member of a hidden family suddenly became worthless. In front of an unknown number of experts who could kill him 10 times with a casual strike, all of his pride, all of his conceit, all of his sense of superiority, all of it disappeared without a trace, leaving only a head full of cold sweat that flowed down like a stream. Young Master Lu, you're an important guest. I dare not let anything happen to you. The voice of the City Lord's housekeeper rang out, as if mocking. This is the inner city of worry-free city. You are not allowed to lay your hands on the residents of the inner city. When he heard Wang Sheng mention that there was a map, the housekeeper had already issued an order to protect Wang Sheng at all costs. When he heard Wang Sheng's explanation, his heart bloomed with joy. What jade pendant? To hell with it. 10 jade pendants were not as valuable as a map of the 1,000 extremities. Even a small part of the map of the 1,000 extremities was enough to make all the hidden families in the world fight for it. Young Master Lu did not see how his other servant lost his head, but Wang Sheng vaguely saw it clearly. Just as Han Bingli made his move, a faint shadow appeared behind that servant, stretched out his hand and grabbed the servant's neck, retreated swiftly and cut off his head in midair. That faint shadow, based on the color of his clothes, clearly belonged to the old shadow eunuch. After being neighbors for so long, Wang Sheng could not be mistaken. Terrifying speed, terrifying attack. No wonder he was called a shadow. His movements were really like a shadow. If you want the map, exchange it with a pill of fortune. Wang Sheng finally smiled and said to young Master Lu. However, young Master Lu's family will definitely not hand over the pill of fortune, right? Just now, you also said that you will definitely not give it to me. So, young Master Lu, you don't have to worry about it. Of course, if your family still wants the map, it is not impossible to negotiate. Wang Sheng stretched out 2 fingers and made a peace sign in front of young Master Lu. 2 pill of fortune. I will stay here. Seeing young Master Lu's expression as if he had suddenly lost his parents, Wang Sheng smiled happily. I will ask the city lord to help me spread the news, no matter who it is. As long as the city lord approves, they can bring the pill of fortune to me to exchange for the map. As soon as Wang Sheng said this, a smile immediately appeared on the housekeeper's face. To first obtain the city lord's approval, no matter who it was, they had to give the city lord sufficient benefits first. This kid is not bad. He does not want to take everything for himself. Very good. Protecting him was not in vain. Young Master Lu, if your family wants it, they have to hurry. Wang Sheng reminded young Master Lu again. There's only one map, so there's only one chance. First come, first served. Logically speaking, you're the first to know about this. Don't let others get ahead of you. Young Master Lu's face alternated between green and white. It was extremely ugly. At this moment, his heart was already filled with anger and humiliation. He only thought about how to send experts to kill Wang Sheng after leaving today and snatch the map. You want to think about the map? Forget it. A ball the size of an egg suddenly appeared in Wang Sheng's hand, and he showed it to everyone. Young Master Lu can ask around about this thing in my hand. This thing may be difficult to save my life, but it is still very easy to destroy a map. As he said this, his hand trembled slightly, and Han Bingli, who was beside him, quickly dodged as if he had seen a ghost, as if the thing in Wang Sheng's hand was not a ball, but a deadly impermanence. Not only Han Bingli, but even the housekeeper and Shadow pretended to inadvertently retreat. On one hand, it was to avoid arousing suspicion, and, on the other hand, it was to stay further away. Everyone remembered that when Wang Sheng first arrived at the worry-free city, he had used such a thing to burn Lingba. Everyone now had an official name for this thing. It was called Hellfire. Chapter 171. It was not a rumor that Wang Sheng could go in and out of the land of Thousand Despair. Everyone had witnessed it twice, and the major forces had used the lives of hundreds of experts to prove it. Now, Wang Sheng said that he had a hand-drawn map of the land of Thousand Despair. Even if it was only a small part of it, it was enough to make people tempted. Why was Wang Sheng able to come and go freely in the land of Thousand Despair? Could it be because of this map? Many people who knew about it began to be tempted. The news only spread in a small area, and it was mainly spread from the city lord. On this point, the city lord was also very reasonable. He only passed the news to some forces that might have the nature pill, which could be considered as a return of favor to Wang Sheng. Bao Qin Yutang and the Imperial Treasury also received the news. However, they were not the forces that had the nature pill, but the city lord who wanted to win over the big businesses. Recently, Bao Yutang had almost no movements. Others also thought that Bao Yutang was immersed in business. Only Wang Sheng knew that they must be waiting for the large production of refined salt to give everyone a big shock. As for the imperial treasury, LV Wenho and Linger, the two real managers, have been staying in worry-free city recently, as if they were waiting for Wang Sheng to come up with something. Young master, do you think he's a fool? The first thought that came to Linger's mind when she received the news was that Wang Sheng was a fool. How could he take out such an important thing? He is a fool. LV Wenho laughed. I have never seen anyone smarter than him. If he is a fool, how many smart people can you find in this world? Seeing that Linger's expression was not right, LV Wenho hurriedly coaxed. Of course my Linger is an exception. She is one of the smartest people in the world. Humph. Linger did not believe LV Wenho's last sentence. But since the young master was willing to coax her, she was happier than anything else. After coldly snorting, she immediately asked, then how could he be stupid enough to hand over the jade pendant so easily to young Master Lu? Because the jade pendant is useless to him. LV Wenho answered the question without any hesitation. He can't leave worry-free city now. So what's the point of taking the token of the sect leader, let alone the jade pendant that allows him to join a sect? What about the map? Linger agreed with this answer. She felt that Wang Sheng's stupidity was not because of the jade pendant, but because of the map. What good does it do for him to easily exchange his greatest reliance? The benefits are great. LV Wenho smiled and pulled Linger into his arms. Linger obediently curled up on LV Wenho's chest, happily listening to her young master's analysis. He could get the good fortune pill. LV Wenho continued. You also know that there is a problem with his body. With the help of the good fortune pill, he can solve the problem once and for all. In the future, his cultivation will no longer drop. Isn't this benefit enough? But he is at most a first-degree realm beginner. Can he withstand the medicinal effects of the good fortune pill? Linger did not think that it was a good thing for Wang Sheng to obtain the good fortune pill. What was the difference between an inedible good fortune pill and an inedible jade pendant? It was also easy for others to covet it. If it was in the past, I would have thought so too. LV Wenho's gaze was directed somewhere, and the expression on his face showed that he had thought of something. But after he told us about the usage of the snake venom at the entrance of Upper Forest City, I don't think so anymore. Why? Linger, it was knowledgeable and knew a lot of things, but her little brain could not react in time. The dosage. Have you forgotten? LV Wenho lowered his head and scratched Linger's nose, replying, if he can't withstand one pill, then half a pill. If half is not enough, then a smaller portion. If the portion is small enough, he will be able to withstand it. Won't he just eat a few more meals? Linger immediately reacted. At that time, she had argued with Wang Sheng about the snake venom, and in the end, Wang Sheng used the dosage to make her speechless. Obviously, she had made the same mistake again. There was no other way. Everyone thought that pills should be eaten one by one, and the medicinal effects of the good fortune pill were too strong for people with low cultivation. No one thought of this. Then if he easily handed over the map, wouldn't it be useless to everyone? Linger was still not convinced and continued to blame Wang Sheng for his mistake. You are wrong. LV Wenho was much more serious this time. Facing Linger's puzzled gaze, he smiled and explained, you and those people you mentioned have overlooked a problem. He only found the map when he entered the grounds of Thousand Despair, not because of the map. Linger instantly reacted. She had indeed been misled. When she heard that there was a map, she subconsciously thought that Wang Sheng relied on the map to enter the grounds of Thousand Despair, and completely forgot that Wang Sheng had entered the grounds of Thousand Despair to obtain the map. In other words, the map was dispensable to Wang Sheng. This time Linger was convinced. She didn't say anything more, but in her heart, she once again scolded Wang Sheng. Because of this barbarian, she had already made a few mistakes. The news had already been secretly released from the city lord's mansion. She believed that the forces with the good fortune pill would definitely be interested. This was also an unexpected surprise for Wang Sheng. He originally thought that the good fortune pill was out of his reach, but who would have thought that the jade pendant he obtained from the grounds of Thousand Despair would lead to such a series of surprises? There were many good things, and Wang Sheng was in a good mood. Even the speed at which he materialized the delicacies was slightly faster. During these days of waiting for the news, a new type of salt was released, and it directly shocked the whole world. After about a month of preparation, Baoqing Yutang introduced a type of salt that was as white as jade, known as fine salt, to the various branches of Baoqing Yutang. Previously, after the release of Baoqing Yutang's snow candy cream, Baoqing Yutang's production capacity expanded in just half a year, and all the gray sugar and other similar products were completely squeezed out of the market. It could be said that Baoqing Yutang now monopolized 90% of the sugar business. The remaining 10% was reserved for those who couldn't afford the snow candy cream. This time, when the fine salt was released, there was no need for Baoqing Yutang to put in any effort to promote it. Once it was released to the Carefree City, the chefs who had always felt that there was some difference between the Carefree City's braised meat and Wang Sheng's braised meat were immediately aware of the difference. The first batch of 1,000 gene of fine salt was bought up in the blink of an eye. Not to mention the price, just the quality of the fine salt was enough to make people unable to stop. There were even a few pill masters who tasted and tested it, and found out that the fine salt was many times better than the coarse salt. With a little publicity, in addition to Baoqing Yutang's previous experience in promoting the snow candy cream, it practically swept the entire salt industry in the world within a few days. When the housekeeper saw the fine salt, he almost flew into a rage on the spot. Wasn't this the thing that Wang Sheng used when he was cooking the braised meat in front of him? At that time, why did he only pay attention to the spices and neglected the most important ingredient, the salt that everyone couldn't live without? Chapter 172. As long as one was a businessman, they would understand once they saw the refined salt. If they couldn't get the method to make this refined salt, Baoqing Yuhao would probably dominate the world's salt market in a short period of time, just like the snow candy frost last time. Other than a few people, no one else knew that the refined salt was produced by Wang Sheng. Everyone's attention was attracted by the refined salt, which allowed Wang Sheng to be extremely quiet and undisturbed for the next few days. In this peaceful atmosphere, after 20 days, Wang Sheng finally completed the 1,000th little cheese kiss upgrade. Another 24 and he would be able to complete it, and then he could start to break through to the second stage. Actually, at this stage, there was no problem for 1,000 little cheese kisses to swallow that huge rock. However, Wang Sheng would not do such a thing. Even if he had to delay the advancement of his cultivation, Wang Sheng would complete it. One must know that the little cheese kisses still needed to be fused, and if there were dozens of them that were not on the same level as the others, it would be a huge problem. It was better to get it done once and for all. At the final moment, when Wang Sheng had completed 15 and was left with 9, the butler suddenly came to visit, bringing good news. The nature pill has been found. Wang Sheng's door was not closed, and the butler pushed the door open to see Wang Sheng reclining on a rocking chair. The first thing he said was to tell him the good news. Wang Sheng revealed a smile. This was really good news. Recently, the butler had been feeling a little unbalanced. He thought that, as the butler of the city lord's residence, he was considered a big shot in Carefree City. But looking at Wang Sheng, he was really envious. Recently, Wang Sheng had been living quite comfortably. He didn't even close his own door, but the experts around his house took the initiative to guard Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng needed the nature pill, and then someone jumped out to tell Wang Sheng where to find it. Now, it was exaggerated to the point of sending it to his door. It was impossible not to be envious. The nature pill. What kind of person would have the opportunity to see it? Not to mention swallowing it. Even the core disciples of those secluded sects might not have the chance to get one. But now those people took the initiative to send it to Wang Sheng. What did Wang Sheng do? He didn't do anything. He only picked up some things on the road when he was being chased, and he obtained all of this. How was he supposed to explain it? Sometimes, people really couldn't be compared with each other. If they were compared, it would make people doubt their own lives. On top of that, Wang Sheng still had hundreds of thousands of gold coins in the Hall of Assassins, close to 1 million gold coins. Originally, it was for the news of the Pill of Fortune. Now that he had received the news and was about to get the Pill of Fortune, he naturally couldn't leave that task hanging. With so many gold coins, they could probably fill up a room in Wang Sheng's house. "Thank you, brother." Wang Sheng was as polite as ever. After understanding the situation, he followed the butler to the city lord mansion. The location of the transaction would be the city lord's mansion. Both sides had agreed that the city lord would be the host, so there would be no cheating or cheating. The ones who delivered the Pill of Fortune were 2 people, one old and one young. The old man had a benevolent countenance and a sage-like demeanor. With a single look, one could tell that he was an expert. As for the young man, he was the complete opposite. He was the type that disliked everyone he saw. It was unknown if he was following the old man out to temper himself or if he had other motives. The transaction was carried out in the huge hall of the city lord mansion, but as the middleman, the city lord didn't appear. Instead, he rested in the backyard. If anyone dared to play tricks in the city lord mansion, they would be going against the 500,000 assassins in the worry-free city. In fact, ever since Wang Sheng entered the worry-free city, he had never met the city lord. In the entire worry-free city, there were only a handful of people who were qualified to meet the city lord. Everyone spoke respectfully of the city lord, but no one knew what the city lord looked like or how old he was. As for his cultivation, that was something that no one knew about. There were only 4 people in the hall: the butler, Wang Sheng, and the old man and the young man. The butler briefly introduced the 2 parties, but he didn't go into detail. He didn't even mention the name of the sect or the name of the other party. He only addressed the old man as Elder Wang and the young man as Young Master Feng. "Brother, thank you for collecting the corpse of our sect senior." After the butler finished his introduction, the old man cupped his fists and thanked Wang Sheng. "This old man can't thank you enough. You're too polite." Wang Sheng was an easy person to talk to. If you treated him kindly, he would treat you kindly as well. He cupped his fists and replied, "It's nothing much. It's not worth mentioning. Since you know that it's nothing much, it's not right for you to use our senior's belongings to threaten us, right?" Old Master Wang was still smiling, but the young man called Young Master Feng, who was the housekeeper next to him, spoke aggressively. "That's true." Wang Sheng's expression didn't change. He was still smiling. "How about this? When I enter the grounds of 1,000 Devastations next time, I'll return the things on the way. We'll pretend that nothing happened. Okay? You don't have to put yourselves in a difficult position. You still have to explain it." Young Master Feng's expression became very interesting. He wanted to get angry, but he was afraid of something and didn't dare to do so. Elder Wang stood at the side and chuckled. The butler stood not far away, looking down as if he was meditating. After a moment of silence, Wang Sheng smiled. "If there's nothing else, I'll be leaving first." After saying that, he thought of something and said to Young Master Feng, "What Young Master Feng said makes sense. I'll make a trip to the grounds of 1,000 Devastations right now. I guarantee that I'll return the things exactly as they were. All right, if Young Master Feng thinks that I'm being disrespectful by burying your sect senior, I promise that I'll dig them up and return them. Goodbye." No one expected Wang Sheng to say such things, especially Young Master Feng. He wanted to make a move, but it was clearly not the right place to do so. It would be troublesome to chase after Wang Sheng, and he couldn't say anything to appease Wang Sheng. "Little brother." The butler didn't say anything, so Elder Wang could only step forward to resolve the awkwardness. "Young people don't know any better. Don't bother with him." As he said that, he gave Young Master Feng a fierce look. It was unknown what the relationship between these 2 was, or whether they had agreed to play the good cop and the bad cop. In any case, when Young Master Feng spoke, Elder Wang didn't say a word. Now that he couldn't control Wang Sheng with words, he stepped forward to appease Wang Sheng. "Look, I brought the things. Let's not waste time. Let's exchange according to our previous agreement." As he spoke, a jade box appeared in Elder Wang's hand. He reached out and brought it in front of Wang Sheng. However, Wang Sheng glanced at Elder Wang, then at young Master Feng. He suddenly laughed. You've already haggled on the spot, so I'll have to do the same. One isn't enough. Two. Chapter 173. Raising the price on the spot. This was definitely the worst kind of raising the price on the spot. Young Master Feng almost exploded. A lowly barbarian dared to speak like this in front of him, courting death. However, young Master Feng didn't dare to make a move. Just as he was about to kill, at least a dozen experts around the hall locked onto him, making him not dare to act rashly. At this moment, young Master Feng remembered that this was the living room of the carefree city's city lord's mansion. This was the inner city of the inner city. If he dared to kill Wang Sheng here, he wouldn't be able to leave this hall alive. Suppressing his anger, young Master Feng turned to the butler and asked in a deep voice, "What did the city lord say?" Before the butler could speak, Wang Sheng spoke before him. "Sir Butler, you didn't say a word just now." As soon as Wang Sheng said this, the butler couldn't even speak if he wanted to. Young Master Feng had insulted Wang Sheng just now because he wanted to occupy the moral high ground to suppress Wang Sheng and make him hand over the map. It was a way of bargaining. Since the butler didn't say anything at that time, he couldn't say anything to Wang Sheng now. "Don't look at me." Wang Sheng saw that young Master Feng was staring at him with dissatisfaction for stopping the butler from speaking, so he directly replied, "Since you brought the item here, it means that you approved the price beforehand. If you change your mind on the spot, don't blame me for increasing the price." Turning back to Old Master Wang, Wang Sheng smiled politely and asked, "Old Master Wang, do you want to continue today, or do you want to go back and discuss it?" Old Master Wang also smiled bitterly and turned to look at young Master Feng. Young Master Feng knew that he had no choice but to express his stance. He could only look at Wang Sheng hatefully, gritted his teeth, and nodded. Seeing young Master Feng nod, Old Master Wang shook his head and took out another jade box. The two jade boxes were side by side and placed in front of Wang Sheng. "You prepared 2 pills of fortune in advance." Wang Sheng laughed again. "Could it be that you are from young Master Lu's family? So you prepared 2 in advance?" Wang Sheng looked at the butler again. At this time, the housekeeper was already smiling bitterly in his heart. Wang Sheng's side was still fine, but why were these so-called hidden clans and sects always like this? In the end, he had to suffer a loss in front of Wang Sheng to learn his lesson? No! The meaning behind Wang Sheng's gaze was clear. He wanted the butler to clarify whether they were from the same family as young Master Lu. Fortunately, these two were from the sect and not from young Master Lu's family. The people from these sects really made people speechless, but they did indeed have the ability to make people envious. Wang Sheng had offered a bounty of several 100,000 gold coins, but he hadn't been able to obtain any information on the nature creation pill. Yet, they were able to obtain 2 of them. After receiving the butler's reply, Wang Sheng returned to Elder Wang's side. A roll of animal skin appeared in his hand. It was the map he had obtained from the wolf's lair. Facing Elder Wang, there was a mark that was clearly the same as the one on the jade pendant. There was also another small mark engraved on the side. When Elder Wang saw these 2 marks, his face was filled with excitement, and his breathing became more rapid. One handed over the money, the other handed over the goods. At the same time that Wang Sheng held the 2 jade boxes in his hand, Elder Wang also grabbed the roll of animal skin. Once he held it in his hand, Elder Wang excitedly opened it. After seeing the brush strokes inside, he reached out and touched a special place. His whole heart was in his stomach. There was no mistake about it. It was drawn by that senior using our sex technique. While Elder Wang was excited, Wang Sheng was actually even more excited than Elder Wang. The moment he held it in his hand, the battle consciousness little person in his source spirit space instantly combined into one. Then, it clearly transmitted a special feeling to Wang Sheng. That kind of eagerness and desire was something that Wang Sheng had never felt before. Not only the battle consciousness little person, even the little chi, when all expressed a feeling of extreme desire. It was as if this was a real delicacy that made them drool over all kinds of delicacies. This showed that there was nothing wrong with this thing. In fact, when they made the transaction in the city lord's palace, it was clearly stated that the entire carefree city was the guarantor of this transaction. Both sides could not pass off the fake as the real deal. Otherwise, what awaited the side that did this would be a disaster. Wang Sheng used a great deal of willpower to suppress the desire of the battle-consciousness little person and the desire of the little Qi, one to devour it. He tried his best to show a calm attitude as he slowly walked back to his own small courtyard. Thinking about it, Wang Sheng felt that it was a bit unbelievable. There was no news of the good fortune pill with a bounty of several 100,000 gold coins, but it had actually appeared in front of him in such a dramatic manner. Moreover, there were two of them at once. It was really hard to believe. Moreover, the timing of the good fortune pill's appearance was very coincidental. He only had one more day to completely upgrade the little Qi one. Then he would quickly devour the last giant rock and complete the Tao Dai transformation. It just so happened that there was a good fortune pill at this time. Wang Sheng did not know how to sigh at his own luck. After telling the maids and chefs who had been serving him to not disturb him today and tomorrow, Wang Sheng closed the door to the inner courtyard and then began to complete the last upgrade of the little Qi. When night came, the last little Qi successfully ate a delicious dish that Wang Sheng had materialized, completely completing the upgrade. When the last little Qi's kiss was completed, the entire source spirit space shook. Then, all of the little Qi's kisses simultaneously increased in size by another 30% on the basis of the upgrade. This shock even spread to the real world, and a loud bang came from the inner courtyard, directly alarming the experts in the surroundings. Fortunately, it was only a sound and did not have any explosive power. Otherwise, it would definitely attract a group of people. Ice Li and the old shadow eunuch knew about the good fortune pill, and also knew that Wang Sheng was going to exchange for it. When the two of them suddenly felt this shock, they were both surprised. Could it be that Wang Sheng couldn't wait to eat the good fortune pill? Although they had only heard of the name of the good fortune pill, it did not prevent Ice Li and the old shadow eunuch from knowing more about the medicinal effects of the good fortune pill than Wang Sheng by 100 times. Was the good fortune pill something that an ordinary person or a first-degree realm cultivator could eat? To be 100% safe, one would need at least a fifth-degree realm expert to be able to withstand the powerful medicinal effects of the good fortune pill. Did Wang Sheng not want his life anymore? Fortunately, there was only one loud bang, and then Wang Sheng's inner courtyard quieted down. Ice Li and the old shadow eunuch only took a glance at their own courtyard wall and did not say anything else. Wang Sheng was currently in the stance of the primeval chaos pillar. His breathing was steady, and he did not look like anything was wrong. Perhaps the loud bang was caused by Wang Sheng's excitement after obtaining the good fortune pill, so it was not surprising. As long as Wang Sheng did not swallow the good fortune pill at this time, everything would be fine. Chapter 174. After the 1024 upgraded Qi kisses, the speed at which they gnawed the giant rock was already abnormally fast. It could be described as being completely visible to the naked eye. The last obstacle hindering the Tao Tai transformation had been eliminated, leaving only the giant rock in the source spirit space, which was now disappearing at a speed of 1/10 of an hour. After a few months, it was not difficult for Wang Sheng to control the 1024 little Qi kisses at the same time. It was almost as if he could move his fingers at will. The confidence in getting the chili, the confidence in upgrading the Qi kisses, the confidence in getting the good fortune pill, finally all came down to Wang Sheng's confidence. Under the guidance of this invincible confidence, the final stage of the swallowing process could be described as irresistible. This time, Wang Sheng stood for more than 9 hours on the primeval chaos stance. Seeing that each Qi kiss could swallow the remaining giant rock in one bite, Wang Sheng stopped. Although it was absolutely not a problem to finish it in one go, Wang Sheng did not want to do that. Taking a proper rest and conserving his energy was the right way. Why did Wang Sheng need the good fortune pill. It was because his time in this world was too short, and the time he had been in contact with the source spirit and spiritual energy was too short. So his foundation could not be compared to those natives who grew up bathed in rich spiritual energy. Under such circumstances, if Wang Sheng continued to pursue speed in his cultivation, the problem of his unstable foundation would only worsen. Taking a proper rest and setting aside time to give his body more time to adapt, this was the right way to take one step at a time. After standing for 9 hours, even if Wang Sheng was constantly replenished with spiritual energy, his body still needed to rest. Regardless of anything, he had to have a good sleep first. At this time, deep sleep was the best way to conserve energy. It was far more efficient than cultivating. Wang Sheng was sleeping, but old Wang and young Master Feng, who traded with Wang Sheng, did not have such a good mood. After the two of them received the map drawn by the senior Wang Sheng, their first reaction was to laugh in their hearts. This animal skin map was far from as simple as it seemed on the surface. The drawing on the outside was just a concealment technique that the sect had always used. They used a much simpler map to hide the true content. As for the true content, it could only be revealed with a secret medicine of the sect. Because young Master Feng acted on his own, it led to a serious consequence. Not only did he have to pay the price of an extra nature pill, but he also had to face great trouble in the future. Changing the price on the spot after agreeing on the terms with a huge slap to the carefree city lord's face. The culprit was not Wang Sheng, but young Master Feng. Hence, the worry-free city lord only did one thing before asking the two of them to leave. What the city lord did was very simple. He announced the deal between Wang Sheng and the two of them to the public. However, out of respect for the secluded sect, the city lord made the announcement 2 hours after old Wang and young Master Feng left, giving old Wang and young Master Feng an hour. Everyone coveted the pill of fortune, let alone two of them. Many people were drooling. Unfortunately, they could only drool. As long as Wang Sheng stayed in the inner city, no one would dare to touch Wang Sheng. If the pill of fortune was something that everyone wanted, then the map of the lands of Thousand Despair was something that every faction would do anything to obtain. If Elder Wang and young Master Feng were to follow Wang Sheng and remain in the inner city of Worry-Free City, at the very least, the city lord would ensure their safety. But could they stay in the carefree city forever? No way. Thus, old Wang and young Master Feng started to run for their lives. They were really running for their lives, just like how Wang Sheng had run for his life in the past. If they did not make use of the 2 hours that the city lord gave them, they might not even be able to return to the sect with a map. Young Master Feng was no longer as arrogant and domineering as he had been in the city lord's residence. His sharpness had disappeared completely, and his face was filled with frustration and anger. However, there was also a sense of helplessness that he could only follow old Wang and run. He was angry. He was angry that Wang Sheng did not know how to appreciate favors, angry that the city lord did not give him any face and only did not reflect on himself. Wasn't he just an ordinary person? Wouldn't it be better to use threats, promises, or morals to coax him into obediently taking out the map? Did he really have to give such a precious legendary pill to a piece of trash? What did he do wrong? Old Wang was actually even angrier than young Master Feng. He was angry that young Master Feng acted on his own, but young Master Feng's position in the sect was higher than his. He had no way of stopping young Master Feng from doing what he wanted to do. Young Master Feng could say that it was a simple matter, but how could young Master Feng say that? Why did he have to hand over the map that others risked their lives to obtain from the lands of Thousand Despair just because he said it was a simple matter? Did he think that he had become an idiot by flaunting his strength in his own little circle? Did he think that the people outside would have to fawn over him like those servants? Now, not only did he offend Wang Sheng, he was forced to use 2 pill of fortune to subdue him. Moreover, his actions had greatly offended the carefree city lord. With the city lord's guarantee, and in someone else's territory, he still dared to do such a thing. The city lord was already kind enough not to send people to kill them. He wanted to scold young Master Feng, But young Master Feng's status was high, so old Wang couldn't do it. He could only suppress his anger. No matter what, he had to wait until he returned to the sect to properly discuss this matter with the sect's higher-ups. As for the current situation, escaping was more important. He believed that in less than a day, the two of them would be hunted down by all the major powers in the world. Don't think that secluded sects were all that great. Not to mention that they weren't the only sects like this. Even if there was only one, when faced with fresh meat like the lands of Thousand Despair, those big clans wouldn't be any weaker than a pack of wolves. In less than 6 hours, the experienced old Wang realized that he had already been targeted. At this moment, young Master Feng, who had made a huge mistake, was still ignorant. He had no idea that he had already become prey in the eyes of others. Old Wang wanted to cry, but had no tears. He wanted to give up on this young Master Feng and rush back to the sect alone with the map, but young Master Feng's identity wasn't ordinary. If anything happened to him, it would be a great crime. If he had known that this prodigal would also have to make this trip, old Wang wouldn't have accepted this mission, even if he was beaten to death. On the way back to the sect, they would have to pass through the territories of many big clans. This time, there would definitely be a bloodbath. Wang Xing had no idea what had happened to these two people, and he didn't want to know either. Wang Xing only had one goal now, and that was to eat and drink his fill and wake up. Then, he would complete the final step of the Tao Tai transformation, which was to devour that huge rock that didn't have much left. The advancement was right in front of him, but Wang Xing still had one more thing to do. The split hornless kiss had to fuse together, and the 1,024 small hornless kisses had to fuse into one big hornless kiss. Only then could he advance and complete the Tao Tai transformation. Chapter 175. Previously, when he was in the first degree realm, he had reached his limit when he absorbed Lone Wolf Spirit. So Wang Xing had no choice but to split his chi kiss into 1,024 small chi kisses. After splitting up, Wang Xing successfully hid his cultivation base and overcame the misfortune of nearly causing his body to explode. Since then, Wang Xing had not fused with the small chi kiss until now. Wang Xing was also very skilled in the process of fusion. Under Wang Xing's skill control, he watched as the 1,024 small chi kisses became 512, and then 512 became 256. As the fusion continued, it finally reached the time when the two merged into one. The size of the chi kiss was no longer the small size when Wang Xing absorbed Lone Wolf Spirit. It was at least 10 times bigger. When the last two merged into one, it directly exceeded the original size by 100 times. An aura that was several times stronger than Wang Xing's a few hours ago surged in Wang Xing's spirit space. So much so that even Ice Li and the old shadow eunuch next to Wang Xing were surprised. What happened to Wang Xing? After obtaining the nature pill, his cultivation level suddenly increased, but they did not feel that Wang Xing's cultivation increased and spiritual energy entered his body. Could it be that it was the effect of the nature pill? Did Wang Xing really eat the nature pill? Ice Li was still fine, but the old shadow eunuch instantly became nervous. He finally saw the hope of the royal family getting involved. He did not want to see something happen to Wang Xing. Just as he was about to jump over to see what happened to Wang Xing, suddenly a whirlwind of spiritual energy directly flew towards Wang Xing's courtyard. This time, the old eunuch also stopped and sat on his seat in the courtyard, slowly feeling it. Once Wang Xing's chi kiss finished fusing, Wang Xing controlled the chi kiss to open its mouth and swallow the last bit of the huge rock. Right now, Qi Wen's body was already 100 times bigger than before. Even if it was a normal huge rock, she could swallow it in one gulp, not to mention the little bit that was left. Without any hindrance, the original soul space became empty, leaving only the little person with the battle consciousness and the huge Qi one. Then, the Tao Tai transformation began without any warning or hindrance. As if encountering a black hole, the surrounding spiritual Qi rapidly gathered towards Wang Xing's courtyard. The phenomenon brought about by the advancement of one source spirit was something that the experts in the inner city of Carefree City were already accustomed to. Apart from a few experts who knew that it was Wang Sheng who was leveling up, the others did not care. However, what many people didn't know was that at this moment, countless people were using various methods to observe or sense everything that was happening in Wang Sheng's courtyard. The huge amount of spiritual qi was still the same as before, entering Wang Sheng's body from all parts of his body, cleansing his whole body, and then concentrating in Wang Sheng's mouth, finally entering the original soul space. When Wang Sheng entered the peak of the first-degree realm, he had already experienced the spiritual qi strengthening his sense of taste. This time, he didn't feel anything strange. Quietly feeling the spiritual qi strengthening his sense of taste, his consciousness in the original soul space stared at his own original soul space, not wanting to miss any changes in his original soul space. Just like before, when the qi wind changed, the dragon head fish body qi when was completely immersed in the white fog formed by the spiritual qi. No matter how much Wang Sheng observed, he couldn't see the changes inside. With the experience of the previous transformation, Wang Sheng knew that when the transformation was completed, the white fog would dissipate and Wang Sheng would be able to see the true face of the Tao Dai. As time passed, Ice Li and the old shadow eunuch began to nod slightly. It seemed that after taking those tonics for a long time, Wang Sheng had completely solved the problem of his lack of vitality. Didn't this mean that he had once again entered the first-degree realm from an ordinary person? Even these two experts who were close at hand only thought that Wang Sheng had advanced from an ordinary person to the first-degree realm. They completely didn't think that Wang Sheng's previous performance of an ordinary person was just a disguise. His real cultivation was in the first-degree realm. The time taken to advance to the second-degree realm was much longer than the first-degree realm. It was a full 3 hours, and the spiritual qi kept rushing over. This was also because this was the inner city of Worry-Free City, which was also considered to be on the edge of the Thousand Despair Grounds, so the spiritual qi was so abundant. If it was in the Upper Forest City, it was estimated that Wang Sheng would be able to completely absorb the spiritual qi within a radius of a few hundred meters. The experts from the surrounding clans had already begun to suspect. Why did Wang Sheng's advancement take such a long time, and the amount of spiritual qi he absorbed was so much? There were even 2 or 3 martial arts fanatics who were thinking, could it be that because Wang Sheng's cultivation had dropped once, so when he re-entered the first-degree realm, he would be stronger than when he first entered the first-degree realm? Yes, there was a high possibility of this. After all, when he re-entered the first-degree realm, he would have more experience and be able to grasp the mysteries within. In fact, many of the experts who were secretly observing him had the same thought. Many of them were experts from various forces, and their goal was to find out something from Wang Sheng's cultivation. It was said that Dai Huan, who was killed by Wang Sheng, had wanted to follow this method of cultivation. First, he would use a simple source spirit to quickly raise his cultivation, and after gaining experience, he would change to a stronger source spirit and start all over again. With this kind of experience, he would be able to completely control all aspects, and it would be much stronger than just cultivating once. Of course, these were all deductions from the news of the Dai family, and no one knew whether it was true or not. But many of the aristocratic families had already started to carry out such experiments. The high-level assassins of Worry-Free City might not have this kind of conditions, but looking at Wang Sheng's current performance, there was a huge possibility. That's right, Wang Sheng himself was a pitiful experimental subject. Every step of his cultivation was probably to provide experience to the Dai family's 9-star source spirit user. Wang Sheng did not consider all these. He only knew that he had not been disturbed for such a long time, and that was enough. The white mist in the source spirit space began to slowly fade, and very soon it would disperse, allowing Wang Sheng to see the appearance of his own source spirit after the Tao Tai transformation. A skinny, strange beast appeared from the white mist, which made Wang Sheng unable to believe his own eyes. Tao Tai, the ancient book, classic of mountains and seas, introduced its characteristics. It had a goat's body and a human's face, eyes under the armpit, tiger's teeth and human's claws, and a big mouth. The strange beast in front of him completely fit the description. A goat's body and a human's face, a big mouth, tiger's teeth and human's claws, and eyes under the armpit. It should be a Tao Tai without a doubt. But why was the gluttonous Tao Tai such a thin and slender person? The source spirit Tao Tai's body was 100 times smaller than the last Chi one. At most, it was the size of a small Chi one. But shouldn't the legendary glutton Tao Tai be a fatty with a big head and big ears? How could it be a thin bamboo pole? Chapter 176. Although he was surprised, Wang Sheng soon felt relieved. There were many senior foodies on Earth who were the same. They didn't have the fat head and big ears that a foodie should have. They claimed that no matter how much they ate, they deserved to be despised by the collective spirit of fatties. They were also so skinny. Next was the most important thing, the acupoints. After completing the Tao Tai transformation, Wang Sheng began to feel the number of acupoints on the Tao Ye's body. Soon, Wang Sheng's face lit up. Before the Qi Kiss split into the small Qi Kiss, the acupoint produced by the soul was transferred to Wang Sheng's body. Wang Sheng had always thought that the Tao Tai transformation would be the same as the Qi Kiss, only adding one acupoint, but the effect was equivalent to adding 10 acupoints for ordinary cultivators. But the reality gave Wang Sheng a huge surprise. This time, there were 2 acupoints that were added. At the beginning, the added acupoints would not form the yin-yang cyclone. Wang Sheng still needed to use the little person to guide it. Wang Sheng suppressed his joy and began to guide the yin-yang cyclone. Although there were 2 acupoints that had successfully formed the yin-yang cyclone, it still took Wang Sheng about 4 hours to add 2 acupoints. Those who were paying attention to Wang Sheng were already surprised. Wang Sheng repeatedly upgraded to the first stage realm, and he actually used the spiritual qi to temper his body for such a long time, which was totally out of everyone's expectations. In this way, when some families nurtured the next generation of experts, they would probably consider this method. However, the only problem was the difficulty of changing the soul. One must know that the materials needed to change the soul, even the Dai family had only managed to collect 1 set after so many years. The Huge Song family did not even manage to collect 1 set. Only a genius disciple that everyone thought highly of would have the qualifications to use such a method. After condensing the 2 yin-yang cyclone acupoints, it was not the end. Wang Sheng next was to transfer the acupoints to his body and then decisively began to split the Tao Tai soul. If he appeared in front of everyone with the current state of the soul, it was easy to be recognized as a second-stage realm cultivator. Under the gaze of the wolves, Wang Sheng had to carefully conceal his cultivation and his state. This was the way to survive as a sniper. The soul split for more than an hour. Fortunately, the process was extremely smooth. It still split into 1,024 little Tao Dai, and only then did it stop. When Wang Sheng finished and checked his physical condition, in the eyes of outsiders, Wang Sheng was already a little cultivator in the early stage of the first stage realm. This time, the effect of the spiritual qi tempering made Wang Sheng very surprised. His muscles were almost condensed, and now it looked much thinner than before. But Wang Sheng knew his own strength. Although the muscle fascia was smaller, its density, flexibility, and strength had more than doubled. 4 acupoints, compared to the original number, it could be said that the source of spiritual qi had doubled, and the attack power had also correspondingly doubled. The only trouble was that Wang Sheng needed to adapt to the new number of acupoints. After all, originally he only used 2 acupoints. Now, there were 4, and the route of spiritual qi had to be adjusted accordingly. This was not urgent at the moment. He could slowly adjust and adapt. Wang Sheng was a little shocked by the strengthening of the taste. He stopped and casually picked up a piece of food and put it into his mouth. After a few hours of cultivation, although the spiritual qi was abundant, his stomach was really hungry. The problem was, Wang Sheng was dumbfounded when he took a bite. The tip of the tongue gave a completely unimaginable taste feedback. Wang Sheng was actually able to clearly distinguish the ingredients, taste, and seasoning of the food in this mouthful. Not to mention this, just a taste alone, Wang Sheng could actually distinguish the levels. Take salt, for example. How much salt there was in the soup, how much salt there was on the surface of the food, how much salt there was in the interior, how the taste was mixed in one bite, how the second bite changed, like a three-dimensional taste library, transmitted to Wang Sheng without any mistakes. As for the temperature of the ingredients and the balance of the taste, it was as clear as if it was placed in front of him. This half was cooked for a long time, that half was cooked for a short time, whether the oil temperature was high or low, whether the stir-frying was sufficient, and even the distribution of the spiritual qi contained in the ingredients due to the different processing methods. All of these could be tasted in one bite. Then, the next moment, Wang Sheng spat out this mouthful of food. It couldn't be helped. Under his picky taste, this food was not qualified at all. Big trouble. With such a strong taste, how could he eat in the future? Wang Sheng couldn't help but smile bitterly and frown. What's wrong? Shouldn't you be happy that your cultivation has increased? The old shadow eunuch's voice sounded beside him, seemingly full of curiosity. Wang Sheng didn't need to raise his head to know that the old shadow eunuch and Isley had actually arrived. The moment he stopped cultivating, the two of them had already appeared without a sound. However, Wang Sheng wanted to know how strong his taste had become, so he didn't pay attention to them. My taste has been strengthened. Everything tastes wrong. Wang Sheng didn't plan to hide this and directly told them about his troubles. When the old shadow eunuch and Isley heard Wang Sheng's answer, they looked at each other. After a while, they suddenly burst into laughter. Isley was very exaggerated. He pointed at Wang Sheng and almost couldn't stand up straight from laughing. In this world, there were all sorts of enhancements to one's cultivation realm. Most of them increased one's strength, speed, endurance, and so on. Most of them were related to combat. Only a small portion of them strengthened one's senses, but most of them strengthened one's vision and hearing. Wang Sheng was the only one they had heard of who could strengthen one's sense of taste. The old shadow eunuch finally stopped laughing. However, he still pointed at Wang Sheng with an indescribable sense of amusement. When I was improving, the spiritual energy tempering body looked earth-shattering. Turns out it was just a strengthened sense of taste. Looking at Wang Sheng's current state, his aura was already at the early stage of the first-degree realm. Thinking that such a long time had only enhanced Wang Sheng's taste, the two of them felt it was funny and a little pity at the same time. How good would it be if such a strong spiritual energy was used to strengthen the body? It was really a pity. Looks like we're in luck. After laughing, Isley also became happy. Although he said that his mind was thinking, was it because Wang Sheng liked to cook? So, when he leveled up, it was related to this? The two of them didn't speak loudly. It was very normal, but there were many experts around them who heard it. Some people began to wonder if it was because Wang Sheng had fallen from the first-degree realm, so he wasn't familiar with the control, which led to such a thing. Maybe it would be better if his cultivation was a few levels higher and fell back. But no matter what, Wang Sheng could be considered to have strengthened his body twice. It was better than once, right? Chapter 177. In the end, Wang Sheng found the dishes cooked by the chefs to be flawed. He had no choice but to grit his teeth and eat the different flavors before he was able to fill his stomach. While Wang Sheng was eating, the news of Wang Sheng's advancement had already spread. However, many people's attention was still on Wang Sheng, waiting to see what his next step would be. Wang Sheng did not disappoint them. He had only just advanced his cultivation base and had yet to stabilize it. After resting for a night, he brought them another huge surprise. To say that it was a surprise was not accurate. To be more accurate, there was only surprise. The reason for that was because Wang Sheng had actually taken out a nature fortune pill and was planning to swallow it. The good fortune pill was indeed worthy of being a legendary pill. When it was placed in the jade box, everyone did not feel it strongly. However, when the jade box was opened, the aura of a peerless expert spread out, shocking everyone. Wang Sheng wanted to eat the pill of fortune. What kind of joke was that? Other than Wang Sheng, Those who could live in the inner city of Carefree City were either peerless experts or super assassins. They were either old foxes in the cultivation world or old foxes among assassins. Other than their own cultivation base and their own unique skills, the greatest advantage they had was their vast experience. There was no choice. Those who were short-sighted would not be able to live long enough to live in the inner city. Everyone was knowledgeable and naturally knew that the legendary pill of fortune was not that simple. Everyone knew that there was something wrong with Wang Sheng's body. The old imperial physician, the alchemist, the necromancer, and even the poison expert could prove that there was something wrong with Wang Sheng's body. After all, he was weak and could not be nourished. But later on, Wang Sheng relied on the prescription prescribed by the old imperial physician and slowly nourished himself. As a matter of fact, the effects were seen immediately. His cultivation had dropped to the unranked realm, but in just a few days, he had returned to the first stage realm. At that time, the old imperial physician had said that if they could find the pill of fortune, they could ignore the prescription. But everyone who heard it knew that the old imperial physician was really joking. Was the pill of fortune useful for Wang Sheng's body? It is safe to say that there are. Moreover, it was a direct cure. It was the best medicine for Wang Sheng's short cultivation time and short contact with his source spirit. But the problem was that the good fortune pill had a fatal flaw, and that was that the medicinal effect was too strong. With Wang Sheng's first-degree cultivation, there was only one outcome after swallowing the good fortune pill, and that was to explode from the overpowering effects. At this time, Wang Sheng took out a revival pill and wanted to swallow it. Wasn't this courting death? Ice Li and the Shadow Old Eunuch had a close relationship with Wang Sheng. When they sensed the aura of the nature pill, they immediately turned pale with fright. Just as they were about to remind Wang Sheng, they saw a scene that made them all feel incredulous. In this short period of time, the sky suddenly turned from clear skies to dark clouds. A huge cloud with Wang Sheng's courtyard as the center began to spin slowly, accompanied by the rumbling of thunder. In an instant, the wind and clouds gathered, causing Wang Sheng to jump in fright. At this time, he discovered that inside the jade box, there were countless complicated patterns. It was obviously an unknown array. But thinking about it, it was obvious that it was the array that restrained the pill of fortune's aura. Now that the jade box was opened, the pill of fortune's aura was immediately released, causing the sky to change color. Wang Sheng directly fell into a daze. Such an earth-shattering scene was actually caused by the pill in his hand. In the past, Wang Sheng had always felt that although the name of the pill of fortune was big, and everyone said it was very mysterious, it was nothing more than to raise the reputation of the pill of fortune. Moreover, Wang Sheng felt that the process of obtaining the pill of fortune was not that difficult. All he had to do was leak a little of what he obtained in the land of Thousand Despair, and someone would automatically send it to his door. It was not as magical as the legend said. Especially when Wang Sheng casually asked for 2 pill of fortune, the other party actually took out 2 without hesitation. This made Wang Sheng feel that this thing was only SOSO. With so many of them, how precious could it be? Now that he saw the sky change color, lightning flashing, and thunder roaring, Wang Sheng finally realized how terrifying this thing in his hand was. He believed that if Wang Sheng did not quickly deal with it, he was afraid that someone would not be able to control themselves and would rob it in the inner city, right? Wang Sheng never felt that living in the inner city of the worry-free city made him feel that he could sleep peacefully. That was because he did not have anything truly tempting in his hands. Now, it seemed to be a moment of crisis. Who would have thought that the pill of fortune that he had always felt was not that remarkable was such a terrifying thing? Without saying anything further, Wang Sheng directly used the scalpel from the first aid box that he had brought from Earth to cut a small piece of the pill of fortune that was the size of a quail's egg. Then he placed it in his mouth. After that, he quickly closed the jade box. Strangely enough, as soon as the jade box was closed, an array formation was activated, and the aura of the pill of fortune was immediately concealed. The strange phenomenon in the sky seemed to have lost its source. The clouds and mist dispersed, and the sky slowly returned to normal. However, at this moment, Wang Sheng could not care so much. As soon as the rice-sized piece of the pill of fortune entered his mouth, it turned into a huge and incomparably pure stream of spiritual qi, which rushed into Wang Sheng's body. At this moment, Wang Sheng only cared about quickly putting the jade box back into his storage ring. Then, he had no choice but to deal with the stream of spiritual qi that entered his body. Wang Sheng's initial plan was exactly the same as LV Wenho's guess. He knew that the pill of fortune was very potent, and that Wang Sheng might not be able to withstand it. So Wang Sheng used an extremely small amount to test it out. But what Wang Sheng did not expect was that a piece of pill of fortune the size of a grain of rice would unexpectedly have such a terrifying stream of spiritual qi. It really was like a monstrous flood, rushing straight from Wang Sheng's mouth to his lungs. Wang Sheng even suspected that his swallowing action would not be able to keep up with the momentum of the stream. Fortunately, this feeling was only an illusion. The spiritual qi did not require Wang Sheng to swallow, and it only rushed down with a loud rumble. This stream of spiritual qi was extremely tyrannical. In terms of purity and abundance, it was even 10 times stronger than the spiritual qi that Wang Sheng had used to temper his body with spiritual qi not long ago. In just an instant, Wang Sheng felt that his entire body had been filled with spiritual qi. Every part of his body, including his bones, flesh, and skin, was soaked in spiritual qi that had almost turned into liquid. It was warm and comfortable, but this comfortable feeling only lasted for a moment, and then there was an indescribable feeling of swelling. The abundant spiritual qi from the pill of fortune continued to crazily rush into Wang Sheng's body, until Wang Sheng felt a little uncomfortable. Only then did he roar and rush into the soul origin space. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.